And welcome back to the channel. Wanted to give a little brief video real quick before we get into this podcast with my good friend, the Willow Steel. Um, just wanted to give a little preference. This is going to be a long video. It's going to be podcast style. So get your popcorn, get your snacks, put your feet up. If you're in a long car, have a long car ride, this is the video for that. Just wanted to thank one more time for my friend, the Willow Steel, coming on. I can't wait to talk more horror movies, talk more future movies later in the line with her. I enjoyed our conversation, and I hope you guys do too. So, without further ado, roll that beautiful lean footage.
Austin Katie, oh, Austin Katie, oh, Austin Katie, oh, Austin Katie.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to, as you can see, the Obsession spoiler talk, and maybe more. We'll see. We'll see who gets what video here. But as you can see, we have a special guest on today, the Willow Steel. Thank you for coming on again. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on the channel and talk about Obsession.
For sure, for sure. So if you want to, as we get started, if you want to just kind of give me a brief of like how you found out about Obsession, your lead up to Obsession, what your thoughts before Obsession were, and then obviously your spoiler-filled thoughts of Obsession.
Sure, of course. Well, I feel like I heard about Obsession. It was actually during TIFF in September. So
Okay.
I usually am lucky to be able to go to TIFF because I am in like the Toronto area. So I
Oh,
went to
nice.
TIFF in September, did the whole festival, the 10 days, and it was kind of like one of the talk of the festival. Like a lot of people were, I was hearing Obsession, and I saw the
Mhm.
one still of Bear, kind of covered in the blood with like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the bathroom
Yeah, the
background.
bathroom
And I
scene
was
from the
like,
end of the movie, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I was like, oh, this is intriguing, but I'm kind of a scaredy cat. So I ended
Mm.
up skipping it. Like everybody was talking about it, but it wasn't really on my radar. So a couple months later, we're in 2026, and then I hear the word obsession again, and I'm like, what is this movie? So I kind of do a little bit more research, see that it's kind of like this maybe like needy girlfriend, like horror type film, like. Oh,
Mhm.
like what's this going to be about? I knew the lead actor because I used to watch Teen Wolf and he was on Teen Wolf. So
Oh,
that was
gotcha. Okay, that's
also
where I
kind of
recognized him from. I was wondering, like, I was like, where do I
mhm.
know him
Yeah,
from?
yeah, he was like one of the side characters in like one of the later seasons, but he always really stuck out to me. So it was cool to see him, kind of in a leading role because I knew him as a supporting character. So
Mhm.
I kind of heard around in a lot of like my Toronto social media about screenings, and then I was able to go to a screening last Wednesday and see it a couple days in advance, and I got a One Wish Willow. Let
I
me
was just
show
about to
it.
ask if you were gonna get one of those. I was so mad that I missed out on the Wednesday screenings because they had those, and I was like, man, I wanted one of those.
Yes, I know. I was like, I have to go just to see if they have this, like, especially just
Yeah.
because it's my name. Like, I feel like I don't see the name Willow in media too
Yeah.
often. So I was like, I wanted to get one of these. So yeah, before seeing the film, I kind of just, was hearing through the grapevine lots of good things, but I
Mhm.
am a little bit of a scaredy cat with like gore and stuff like that. So I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to go, but I think knowing the actor, having like the Willow element, it kind of sold me. And
Yeah.
after seeing it, I'm so glad that I went to go see it because I don't think it's that. I feel like it's a little bit more psychological than actually like
Yeah. It
gory. Like, of
Yeah, it's not
course,
like
near the
Evil
end,
Dead or
it gets a
anything
bit.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. So I had a great time and it was an amazing screening. Like everybody was laughing, and at the certain moments, like with Nikki in the background or something when Bear's
Mhm.
on the phone call, everybody's like, "Oh my goodness." And so it was a great screening and I loved it. What do you think
Was it an
about the
actual, like,
film
press screening,
overall?
or was it an actual, like, regular theater kinda screening? Because
It
usually
was
you
a
don't see
pub
those
it
with
was a
regular
pub
theaters.
Yeah, not with regular it was like a public screening, but it was, like, invite only. So
Okay.
I think it, like, had a couple members of the press, but the majority of the people were just, like, members of the public, I think, who had, like,
Mhm.
entered contests or who have, like, maybe friends in the media or who are, like, influencers. So I often am able to go to those, like, the screenings a couple days before, like the
Yeah, I've been to
advanced
those before
screenings,
too.
but
Yeah, yeah.
it's for like the public, you know?
That's why I
So
was curious. I didn't know if
yeah.
it was like one of those kind of screenings because I know around here they had Wednesday night showings, but they were like at AMC's only. Cinemark or Regal or any of them didn't have Wednesday night showings. It was just AMC. So that's why I was curious if it was the
Mm.
AMC ones or actual like one of those advanced press screenings as they like to call them.
Yeah, like, I don't think it's n like, I don't call it a press because I've been to a press screening where it's literally
Mhm.
only, like, 20 people and it's just press, and then
Yeah,
these screenings, like, they have some members of the press there, but I think it's more, like, public members to try and, like, spread it on social media. Be like,
yeah,
"Oh, friends, like, go see this movie, it was really good." It's usually, like, organized by, like, a little, like, PR, agency in Toronto,
yeah.
and the production company. So it was like Focus Features who
Oh,
kind of
that's
like
interesting. Yeah, because
organized the whole thing.
the two that I've gone to, I know this is a little bit off topic of obsession, but the two I've gone to were Exorcist Believer and Sinners. Those are the two, and
Okay.
I got an
Oh,
email
nice.
for early tickets from Universal both times. They would email
Okay,
me, and I'm like,
awesome.
"Oh, cool." So that's why I was curious. I was like,
Mhm.
I've never
That's
actually like
nice.
won through a contest or like a radio thing. Like it was always I would either just get an email from like I had a RSVP for Passengers a couple days ago. I wasn't able to go, but I actually
Oh,
had an early screening. I could go see Passengers. I
nice.
was like, I wish I could go, but I couldn't,
I know.
unfortunately.
I kind of want to go and see that too. We're not going to get like sidetracked. We'll talk about Passengers later, but
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one too.
Yeah, that would be a good one. But no, with the session, so for me, I follow a lot of horror content creators on YouTube and just YouTubers in general. And so I heard it out of Fantastic Fest, also late September.
Mm.
I heard about it and everyone was raving this Obsession movie by Curry Barker because I knew him a little bit. I knew of him from his skits on like TikTok and YouTube and stuff. I knew him from those. And then I knew he had a short called Milk and Cereal, but I never watched it. I never gave it a chance. And so I literally went in with the recommendation of people on the internet back when Fantastic Fest. People were like, you got to watch this movie in May. I didn't even watch any of the trailers just because I wanted to go in as blind as possible. I
Mhm.
didn't even know the main girl, Nikki. I know her from the Superman and Lois show on the CW. I didn't
Oh,
even know
okay.
she played Nikki. So when I watched the movie for the first time, I was like, oh, it's her. Okay, I know that. So the
Yeah.
whole thing was a surprise to me. All I knew was like the general synopsis of like there's this wish that he makes and girl gets crazy. That was really it. I try to stay away from as much as possible. So for me, I went in completely blind and was more shocked at the fact that it lived up to the hype for sure. Like no one was overhyping this movie. Nobody was over exaggerating how good this movie was. But for me,
Mhm.
I went into expecting, like you said, a scary movie, thinking, "Oh, this is gonna be a scary movie," and walked out being like, "That wasn't scary. That was just disturbing. That was just haunting
Mhm.
and very tragic." And I was not expecting any of those elements. I was expecting more of like a hokum or like a Conjuring movie where I'm just like, "I'm gonna get jump scared or like scared or whatever." I wasn't expecting
Yes.
to walk out
Yeah.
actually being like, "I was disturbed, like actually disturbed." That's what threw me off of it very much. I don't know if like the movie disturbed you or it actually scared you in a lot of ways, but
I think certain parts of it definitely scared me, and, like, I feel like it's kind of unique, like, they
Mhm.
have kind of, like, jump scares with her in the corners, like, in the
Yeah,
dark, but I wouldn't like, it's not really a traditional jump scare, it's just like, "Oh, she's there in the corner," like,
yeah,
"Oh," like, my eyes have just adjusted, to the darkness, kind of like Bear does, or when she kind of does that, like, weird movement, like, she, like,
yeah,
walks
weird, like,
backwards
yeah,
at one point.
yeah,
Yeah, like, that's kind of getting a little, like, exorcist-y, going with that kind of creepy movement of, "This is not, like, a human," like, there's some sort
yeah.
of, like, possession, entity that's taken over this body. I think the most, like, disturbing thing for me was probably, like, the bedroom scene when Bear's sneaking out, and you have the
Oh, yeah,
real
yeah,
Nikki speaking outwards, and just like as a woman, like hearing that, like kind of the idea of like consent and everything.
yeah.
And you think Bear, kind of this nice guy trope again as well. And it's like, who's the villain at the end of the day? Is it this one wish Willow? Is it Bear? Like, I love this conversation that's going on because I feel like
I
it's
was
not
just about to get into
necessarily
that,
like,
yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah, that was
not,
gonna be something I was
I
gonna
don't
discuss for sure,
completely,
yeah,
like have Bear at the fault of it, but
yeah,
um yeah, I feel like it's so complex because you never like at the beginning of the film when they're in the car and Nikki's like, "Oh, do you like me?" Like I really wonder what would have happened if he never like did if he had like admitted it,
Yeah.
and was like,
Well, I
"Yes,
mean,
I do like you."
since we're on the topic, might as well just jump into it. Where do you land on that
Yeah.
camp of, do you feel like Bear is the main villain of the movie, or do you feel like Nikki still is? Like, because like you, I've been seeing a lot of discussions. I've been seeing a lot of people flop one way or the other, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I could go either way. I mean, there's obviously some arguments on both sides, but to me, I do land on more. I think he is the villain because like she was just a girl living her life that honestly, I don't even know if she really had feelings for him. I mean, there were parts, there were little flirtatious moments, but I don't see it. I mean, especially if she was with his friend hooking up on and off.
Yeah.
I don't feel like she would
Mhm.
have really been doing that if she had feelings, strong feelings for Bear. So you have this girl who doesn't really have a lot of like strong feelings for this guy. He's the one who's probably obsessed with her. And he puts this entity or whatever it was inside of her, and now she's just trapped behind these eyes of a person that she can't do nothing about. She can't witness the horrors and all that stuff. And to me, I'm like, he's kind of the villain for that. Like he put her in this situation, and now that's that's just
And she's
to me
stuck,
that just goes,
right?
she's the victim. Yeah, she's the victim and she's stuck.
Mhm.
So to me,
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
feel
and especially when he knew in those moments, like like you noticed, like when he knowed like something was off with Nikki. He knew
Mhm.
something was going on, but he still went through with it because he just wanted to be with her so bad. And then especially when you get towards the end and she says what she says when she's like, "Hey, it's me, the real Nikki, just kill me," and all that stuff. In that moment, instead of saying okay or trying to find another way to fix it, he just goes, "Am I that hard to love?" And like that was his first train of thought. His first train of thought was, "Oh, so I'm the problem." It was no other self-reflection. It was just, "Oh, I'm the problem." And so I'm like, at the end
yeah,
of the day, you can kind of paint it to where, yeah, it is kind of Bear's fault. Like he put her through it for no reason. And especially when you get to the end of the movie, she's probably going to go to jail for the rest of her life or an institution or something. Like she's the one that has to deal with all of this, all of that massacre that happened because he made a wish. She has to deal with it now. Her life is messed up. Her life is gone because of his. So I'm like, yeah, he does have some redeemable qualities for sure, but I feel like at the end of the day, those are very like selfish and villainy type motives for me personally.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all those points that you just talked about. I feel like what Curry Barker does is just like so well done, like just kind of like the slow pace of it all,
Mhm.
making us feel very sympathetic towards Bear. Like I feel like the opening with the cat being,
Mhm.
passed away, like into the medication, also kind of being like, oh, like what's that backstory, with the
Mhm.
medication, a family history of mental health or something like that and, seeing that he's a bit of an outsider, he's kind of awkward. You feel bad that he can't, you know, like, be confident and tell Nikki how he feels. But I definitely agree that that bedroom scene when he's trying to sneak out and she's like, just please, as a friend, like pleading to him to just put her out of her misery and kill her. And I think also when he calls the customer service line
Mhm.
and the guy's like, "Oh, you wanna talk to Nikki?" And then he puts Nikki on the
He hears her
line, and it's
screams,
her
yeah.
just screaming,
Mhm.
and I'm like, there, like, I feel like those are 2 solid examples of her suffering, and, like, the scenes of them also, like, having sex and stuff, like, she's obviously just kind of like a body, and,
Mhm.
like, I think the end as well with him, "Oh, like, you have to die in order to have the wish be destroyed or have somebody try and wish it away." It is, like, interesting that, he leaves the whole mess for her. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, let me just end this because it's too much for me to handle. Like, I can't take care of her. I have to go to work. Like, I'll just leave
Mhm.
her to, defecate herself and everything. Like, I can't be around her 24/7 like she needs me to be. So I guess I'll just end it because it's how I figured it. He thought it was too bad for him so
Mhm.
that's why he ends it all, like she was too obsessed with him rather than him thinking, "Oh, let me get her out of this." So I
Yeah.
definitely agree that I think by the end of the film, it's solidified that Bear is the villain. And
Yeah.
even though like maybe some people are like, oh, well, like the storekeeper should have warned him better. Like I feel like that storekeeper was pretty adamant, like, oh, people don't like this product. Like
Well, it's also
it's
it
up
looks
to
like it's a
you.
trend. Like, it looks like it's a trend because the way they explained it in the movie is that these things are just flying off the shelves. Everybody and everybody's already made a
Mhm.
wish. And sometimes it's not
True,
always the
yeah.
wish is bad. Like, they've proved that. Like, the one store owner was like, I used my wish, nothing bad happened. And then his friend wished for $1 billion. Like, it's not always a bad wish. So it's like, you just used it in a bad way. You used it willy nilly, like, I wish he loved me more than anything. Click, and it's like, well, be
Hmm.
careful what you wish for, bud, because this is what you get.
Right.
you know. And so it's like, and I'm not going to say in that moment he had bad intentions. I think he didn't. I think he didn't know. He was just like willy nilly,
Yeah.
whatever, and snapped it. But it's also like his friend knew though. Like, even though his friend was kind of a little like, ah, whatever, it's not going to work. I feel like if he was a true friend, he would have been like, okay, I'm going to listen to you and maybe help you out of the situation. But he didn't. He was like, whatever, $1 billion. And it's like, all right. Like, you
I don't
kind
know.
of put
I
him in a
feel like
situation he
Bear
had no
had
other choice but to kill himself.
true, I guess. I don't know. I feel like Bear had kind of, isolated himself from the friend group in the end though.
Yeah.
Because, like, I guess you can say, oh, it's because of Nikki. He felt like he couldn't bring her around. It was like, well, then why are you hiding this truth that she is under this spell? Like, everybody in the friend group is coming to him multiple times, being like,
Yeah.
there's something off with you. There's something off with Nikki. Like, what's going on? And it's not till the end when Bear's in that dire situation and feels like he has no control over Nikki. Because I think to a point, he feels like he has control over Nikki. And then she
Mhm.
starts to do more crazy stuff with like the cat, making the cat sandwich.
Yeah.
She, goes crazy on the date, freaks out. And of course, everything that happens with is it Sarah? That's the other
Yes, Sarah.
coworker.
Yeah, it's you have
Everything
Ian,
that
who's his friend, and then you have Sarah, who's her friend. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so and then everything that goes down with Sarah, like those are obvious moments where Bear has lost control of her, and
Yeah.
just to see like how everything ends up at the end is just like wild to me. But I feel like it's so well done.
Oh no, for sure. And I will say for me, I don't get jump scared a lot. Like, most horror movies I watch, they're pretty much like, I'm just like, hey, I've seen it all. I've watched horror movies since I was like 3 years old. So nothing really scares me.
Yeah.
But the one scene with Bear and Sarah when she was about to open up the letter to see if she went to college or whatever. That scene didn't scare me. I knew Nikki was coming. Like, I knew she was coming somewhere. This girl ain't gonna let her
Totally.
man let go very, very well. She ain't gonna let him go.
Mhm.
But I knew she was coming. But what shocked me was because the moment was so intimate. You hear this like romantic music playing, and it's starting to like, oh, maybe Barrow's gonna change his mind and fall for Sarah. And then out of nowhere, here comes a brick to the girl's face, and her face is just smashed into pieces. You're like, within seconds, like within 20 seconds, it's just she's gone. And I'm like, that was a dramatic like leap. That was 100%. I was
Mhm.
actually like, oh, this is cute. Oh, like
Like,
within two
wow,
seconds.
okay, we're
So
going
it wasn't a
there.
jump scare because I knew it was coming, but it made me feel sick to my stomach. So it's like, oh,
Mhm.
I was actually enjoying this intimate moment just for it to get ripped out of me. And now I'm just watching something
Mhm.
horrific, which I actually read that scene almost gave them an NC-17. Like, they had like 7 to 8 more face hits with the brick, and they had to cut it to
Okay.
have an R rated. I'm like, really? When you have Terrifier 3, who has way more gore and has way more blood, and they got past an NC-17, that movie made millions at the box office. But a few
Mhm.
more brick hits, that was it. No,
It's too much,
NC-17.
you know?
Yeah. I'm like, all right. I figured, the pissing on herself, shitting on the floor, or, the cat sandwich. Maybe that would have been a little. No, it's the brick scene. I'm like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes sense that would be the NC-17. Um, I will say too,
right?
with the movie, I'm curious. Were you surprised that it wasn't as gory? Like, with all the hype and everybody was like, "This is such a great movie." You would think a movie like this would require that level of gore, like a really high level, but it was actually kind of tamed, which I was surprised. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I was just surprised with like a movie that's gotten this much buzz that I was like, oh, there's not like a really gory thing in this movie. That's nothing like something like that. Which, besides the brick kill, obviously,
No,
but I
I'm the same. I was expecting a little bit more. I feel like the first half of the film, like, it's just kind of like a normal film, if I'm being honest. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's just more like a romantic drama. We're trying to build up the knowledge of this relationship, what's going on, introducing the One Wish Willow, giving us
Mhm.
insight to this kind of like entity possession. But I really don't think it gets gory until the end, and I was
Yeah.
kind of expecting more. I feel like it was kind of starting to fall into that hype of I feel like the last couple of years, all these horror movies have been marketed as, the scariest. Like it started with like
Mhm.
Cuckoo and Longlegs
I mean, you saw it with
and
Hokum
The
a
Monkey.
few weeks previous before this movie. You saw that with Hokum, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of like, "Oh, it's the scariest movie," and I feel like I definitely kind of use that as well, being like, "Oh, is it like the scariest horror movie?" I don't necessarily think it's probably like the scariest.
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably maybe like the smartest. I feel like it's really
Mhm.
well thought out, especially for like a directorial debut or like feature debut. And coming from like such a young director as well, with more of like a non-traditional background doing YouTube, I think it's interesting that he's able to kind of use more like the fear aspects of like the dark, like not
Yeah.
necessarily using like blood and guts and gore or like violence or, guns or weapons like that, but he just wants to use like lighting to try and
Yeah.
freak us out, and have like the shadows casted over Nikki and like also kind of just using the actress, Indy, is
Mhm.
that her name?
Yeah. I don't know how to
To
pronounce
like
her last
her
name, but Indy, yeah.
but just kind of like her different vocal like screams and how she's able to like really use her face to kind of seem
Mhm.
human like. I feel like those more like physical and the lighting things are interesting for a horror film. Like I feel like you don't
Yeah.
necessarily see like a lot of the time, let's just go for the bloods and the gore, like that's gonna have a lot of fans, excited and wanting to come back for more. But I feel like this is a really smart horror film because it doesn't necessarily play on that until the very end.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like some of my favorite parts were like the shots with Nikki and like when she was at the doorway after the first
Mhm.
night they slept together. She came back and she's like, "Oh, I'm on drugs," and she's just standing there in the door frame, and everything's blacked out but her eyes. You see these two white
Yeah.
pupils, and it's kind of cool looking, but it's also like it makes me wonder in those scenes when she's lit like that. Because there's like two different scenes. If that's like what the entity might look like, if the entity is just this black shape with two bright pupil
Mm.
eyes, if
Okay,
that's what it
that's
looks like.
cool. Yeah, I
Because
never
I've
thought about
noticed
that.
because I noticed that when on my second watch that the entity, you really get those like weird scenes of her making these noises or screaming or doing all these things. You get them
Mhm.
in those scenes when she's in the shadows, like the door, like the corner. You only get those scenes. So I wonder if that's like the entity, what it looks like. That's what I kind of took from it because that's one thing I do like about this movie. Like something like the Blair Witch Project, I'm glad they don't show whatever the entity is or give any sort of idea of like, is it a demon? Is it just witch magic? Is it this? Is it that? I'm glad they don't do that because I feel like that creates a mystique because you never know when the real Nikki's in and when the fake Nikki's in. You never know that because of her acting is amazing. You never know which one is
Mhm.
which. And I love that back and forth between it. But I wondered that on my second rewatch. I didn't know if maybe you might have picked that up or not, but I noticed that with the shadows, if that was his way of kind of showing
Yeah.
the creature without actually showing the creature.
I never thought of it like that. I definitely noticed like the glow of the eyes at certain
Mhm.
points in the film, like near that moment in the car, after he's broken the One Wish Willow. And I feel like there's a point later in the film too when she's like in the shadow and her eyes are glowing as well. So I like to think about maybe that's the entity kind of peeking through a little bit. I also have a question for you. I think it's like the halfway point when Bear wakes up in the bed and she's like in the corner and
Yes.
Nikki says, "Oh, like I don't like my dreams." Do you remember that
Yeah.
part?
Yeah, I
Like my
remember that part.
dreams
Yeah.
scare me. Do you think that is the entity or do you think that's Nikki? Because I think
I
that's Nikki
think
like sticking
I
out
was just
for a
gonna say, I
moment.
think it. Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's Nikki. Only reason I would back up your theory on that one is because if you go back to that scene where she is talking to him as Nikki, she seems like she can only really like control herself or tap into whatever's going on when the entity is asleep.
Mhm.
So I wonder if it's one of
Yeah,
those
true.
when the entity is asleep, that's when Nikki can come out.
Uh-huh.
So it could be one
It
of those
must be
situations,
something
like
like
you said.
that,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I just like the idea that, she's always trying to like break out, like, and the idea they don't show like the possession or like the demon or whatever it is. I feel like it leaves you as the viewer just asking so many more questions,
Oh
wanting
yeah.
more, coming up with your own theories. I think it's like I love that. I just love when a film, leaves you wanting more.
Oh yeah, for sure. And another thing I've heard theories about people saying is, I wonder if in those moments when she's freaking out at the dinner table or she's doing all these things, if that's the entity trying to replicate what a human is. If that's why it's so
Mhm.
extreme from 0 to 11 is because it's doing the most over dramatic version of what a human is. And I'm like, I could see
Yeah.
that. I could see her because you had some people thinking, well, maybe that's the demon bringing out the inner things in Nikki. Maybe Nikki really is crazy. Maybe this is how she is when she is in a relationship, but it's like cranked up to 11. And I'm like, I could see that, but I never got the impression of Nikki before she turned that she was this kind of person. She seemed like a very free spirited, very, happy go lucky girl. I didn't never got the vibe from that first 20 minutes of, oh, this girl's possessive. This girl's crazy. This girl's like, so overbearing.
Yeah, me neither. I feel like they really tried to establish her as like a level-headed person, somebody who's
Mhm.
kind. Like she gives her friends like $20 to that one homeless guy at the beginning of the film. I feel like there's a big point to that scene to show us the type of humanity that she has, and then to see like the humanity stripped away from her and try to be like emulated by that creature. And I feel like even in the first moments when she is put under the possession, the entity
Mhm.
is trying to come up with certain answers to make Bear believe her, right? Like I
Yeah.
feel like the entity is always trying to gauge what's the best reaction. So the
Yeah.
whole like over dramatic, like the freak out at the restaurant, I definitely think that's the entity not understanding that this is like blowing this out of proportion.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's trying to scare him, It's trying to reel him in even more or something.
Yeah. Well, another theory I heard too, because I was confused on my first watch, but then I read this theory and then I went into that theory with the second rewatch and it kind of made sense. I was confused at first. I was like, "Oh, why did she lie about the dad having cancer? If that was like a manipulation tactic, if that was something, And one of the theories I read was, what if that's actually the case, and the entity just brought that secret out in Nikki, that was what's going on, that her dad does actually have cancer, but the possessed Nikki just used the information to pry on Bear or sympathy or whatever. And I'm like, I could see that because that at first that seemed to make sense. I was like, okay, that kind of seems like a little pointless twist other than just revealing that, hey, something's up with Nikki, she's lying about her dad. But I'm like, if you put it in that direction and tell me, okay, she just that is the truth, it's just the entity is exposing secrets about Nikki, then I'm like, okay, that makes a little more sense. Because I'm like, I don't know if you caught that or if that's what you thought on your first view, but for me, I'm like, I didn't really quite get that at first, but until I read that, and then it obviously helped the second time.
Um, Sorry, could you just repeat that? Just the main question?
Oh, it was just basically saying on your first rewatch, did you kind of understand the point of the whole twist at the beginning when Bear found out about her lying about her dad? If you kind
Oh,
of
the
understood what that was going for, or if that was like what you
See,
thought
I
about
feel
that.
like that was more like a manipulation tactic. I do think it's kind of interesting to think that maybe it was true and the
Mhm,
entity's bringing it out of her. I thought it was the entity again trying to gauge the right reaction. So it's
mhm,
like, oh, a death in or like somebody who's sick in your family is, a good way to get somebody to come closer to you. But I feel like
mhm,
your theory of maybe she was like starting to get a little bit close with her dad because she was also quitting her job too. So I feel like
mhm.
they were trying to really line up
Yeah,
that she had a lot of like a big future ahead of her, and
yeah,
maybe she was getting close again with her dad because everybody all her friends were like, "Oh, they're not close anymore. She doesn't like her dad." but it is truthful that when, a parent or a family member gets ill, maybe you want to get closer to them. So maybe she was quitting her job, to be closer to him because he was sick. And then the entity, was able to use that against Bear. But then she's also like, oh, well, that's not true. But I feel like I can't trust anything that she says.
Yeah.
So even if it is true, and then she's saying, oh, it's not true, like, I feel like the entity has a lot of control over her, and
Mhm.
Nikki is just, like, in the passenger seat just being, driven everywhere. So, I think that's another really good theory to think about is,
Mhm.
like, how much of what she was saying was true and, like, what was a manipulation tactic and what was actually coming from Nikki's subconscious. So, yeah, I never thought
Yeah.
about that.
Well, now you have a lot of things you can go into with your second screening, and you can kind of apply some of these theories too.
Exactly,
Th
right?
For me, when I was watching it the first time, the last, like, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, I did not know where the story was gonna wrap up. I was like, "Okay, is he gonna kill himself?" And then he started gagging himself. I was like, "Ah, he chickened out again." And then I heard the snap, and I was like, "Oh, is that how the movie's gonna end? Is it gonna end like Pet Sematary where they're just both, like, fucked up, love each other kinda movie?" And then he died. I'm like, "Oh, shit." So, like, I didn't know for you if, like, the last 5 minutes was just so, like, how is this gonna end? Like, is he gonna bite the bullet, or is she gonna, like, do something crazy? Like, I didn't know the last 5 minutes was gonna go. So I didn't know for you when you first watched it if you were just like, "How is this gonna end? Like, where is this gonna go?" Because 'Cause I'm like, it can go in 90 different directions, and I don't know which one would be best.
I feel like the moment when, like, Nikki comes up to the car and she kills
Mhm.
poor Sarah in the most brutal way, and they have to get rid of the body, and then
Then she
he goes
wears it.
back to Yes, oh my it was terrible. She goes back and is trying to get the people at the shop to help him out, and he tries to get Ian to help, but then, Ian's, like, useless with the situation. I had no idea how it was going to end. Like, I felt like it was just building up, like, so much tension. And like you said, like, I felt like it could have gone in 90 different directions. When he comes back and he sees Nikki and he sees what he's done to Sarah's body, and she's, all dressed up as Sarah, and she has
Mhm.
like the tattoos all over her. And I was like, okay, this is nuts. This is insane, but I'm here for the ride. And then
Yeah.
Ian walks in and gets killed. Like, you have, like, no moment to mourn Ian,
Yeah, it was a blink and you
and
miss, it
and
was a bam, and I'm like
literally, and I was still feeling bad for Sarah, and then poor Ian, like,
Mhm.
ugh, and then he locks himself in the bathroom. I was like, "I don't know how this is going to end," because I was really thinking maybe she would end up snapping the One Wish Willow, he would be able to convince her, but she was just, like, not having that at all. And then to see him open the medicine cabinet, I was like, "Oh, we're being brought back," which I thought was also
Yeah.
really smart because that was one of the first things that we see at the beginning of the film is the medicine cabinet
Yeah.
and, the death that was caused by it, with the cat. And then, we kind of come full circle at the end where, Bear, you're the cause of your own death, like, you have to take himself out. So I was interested, when he like swallows all the pills and then you hear the snap or like you hear the sound, like the musical
Mhm.
sound when you open the One Wish Willow box and then you hear the snap and you're like, oh, she snapped him to be in love with her as well.
Mhm.
I kind of forgot that he had like taken all the pills and that, they're all together and then he starts overdosing and I'm like, is this how the film ends?
Mhm.
And as he's dying, I'm like, "Okay, well, she has to snap out of it," and then she snaps out of it, and I'm like, such a horrible way to end the film, but such a,
Mhm.
like, brilliant way to end it. I think it's, like, a perfect ending. I feel so bad for Nikki, because like
Mhm.
you said, like, she's probably gonna get arrested or sent to a mental, like, hospital, like,
Like,
it's
her life is ruined
I
now
don't
because of his wish, yeah.
yeah. Exactly, like, who's going to believe, 3 dead bodies in front of her, that she wasn't involved at all when,
Oh, of course, yeah.
at the party, she was freaking out at the party, didn't seem like her normal self, like, there's lots
Yeah.
of witnesses to say that she's been, maybe a little bit mentally unwell, right? So yeah, I was not expecting it to end that way, but I loved it. I thought it was a great ending.
No, for sure. I was just more shocked that like I love endings to especially horror movies where you end it on a bleak ending where it's just like a that's it and it's like oh, okay. And to me this is the first horror movie in a while. I would say probably since like Conjuring 2 where I actually did not want to leave the theater. Like I was just sat in my chair watching the credits, hearing her scream through those speakers and I was just like I don't want to leave because I'm like in my head, I'm thinking there's got to be more. Like you don't just end it like that. You don't just end it with her just screaming
Right?
bloody murder and that's it. And so I kept sitting there for like 5 minutes thinking that can't be it. And then I was still processing the movie. I was like, did it just end like that? It did just end like that. Okay. So to me, I like endings like that. Like, Pet Cemetery was one of them. The Conjuring 2 was one of those bleak kind of endings as well. You're like, oh, that was it. All right. So like I enjoyed that factor of walking away being like, that is not a happy ending. I like that. Now I am curious too because I don't know if you saw since the movies came out, since it's almost been a week, that Curry Barker's had some ideas for about where we could take Obsession. I didn't know if you're on the camp of like, nah, leave it one and done, or if you're like, let's explore this universe. Let's because his idea is let's do an anthology series where every episode's about somebody with the one wish and see what how they will do it. And I'm like, I kind of like that idea because it's like a Tales from the Crypt creep show kind of idea. But I'm also like, you know how it is nowadays. Everything has to be milked into a franchise. Everything has to be IP. So it's like, do we go that
Yeah.
route or do we just leave it as a one and done?
I feel like it could be interesting. I feel like this is just like such a I wouldn't say it's, like, perfect because I gave it, like, a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. There was just, like,
Hmm.
maybe 1 or 2 things, but I think it's such again, like, a very smart film. I feel like Curry really knows what he's doing for somebody who's so young and
Oh
really,
yeah.
starting to work on his craft, and I feel like he's really mastering what he wants to bring out. And I know he has a lot of projects, like, he's tied to other stuff, like, he's doing other
Yeah,
horror films, I
he
believe.
has another solo movie coming out with Jesse from Breaking Bad. I can't remember his name. I think Aaron Paul. That's his name, Aaron Paul.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
And then after
Love
that, the
him.
big one, which this is probably why I walked into the film thinking it was gory, but he got signed on to do the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Okay,
because of
yeah,
this
that's what
film,
I
and so
thought.
that's probably why I walked in thinking, "Oh, this must be gory because Texas Chainsaw is gory." But that's his
Mhm,
next film after this next movie he's doing with Aaron Paul. He's doing a Texas Chainsaw, but he's probably gonna have a lot more movies after the success of Obsession, obviously. But yeah, I am
mhm.
curious to see what he does with those films for sure because I'm like, I like what you did with Obsession. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, and he even said he's like, if I even decided to do a TV show, I wouldn't do it. I would just give it off to somebody else. I would probably do the first episode and then let like every
Mhm.
single episode be filmed by a different director or a different writer, kind of anthology and up. Which again, I don't hate the idea. Only problem I don't want them to do is don't explain the wish. Don't explain where the one wish willow came from, who made it, none of that stuff. If you just keep it strictly somebody finds it at a shop just like this or whatever, I think that's fine. I don't see a problem with that, but I don't see them doing a direct sequel ever to this because I just don't see why. Like there's no need to, it kind of ruins the ending. And I like people's ideas of walking away with what they think happens to Nikki. Maybe she does get scot free. Maybe she cracks a a spell or something. Who knows? But I don't mind the idea of a franchise with this because I really think there's a lot of like concepts you could do with the One Wish, but
Mhm.
I'm also like, I kind of like how it is. Let's just leave it. It's kind of like, do you really want to see Get Out 2? No. Or Sinners
Yeah,
2?
that's
No.
yeah, not really, no. I feel like an anthology series could be interesting if they were going to do anything with this. I wouldn't want a
Yeah.
continuation of Nikki's story. I like how it ends. I like kind of not knowing what's going to happen to her. I wouldn't mind, like, maybe if they did a TV series, like an anthology thing, I feel like that could be interesting. I feel like what would be, like, really interesting is, like, maybe in, like, 10 years or something if Curry did another film, like, with the One Wish Willow, or he kind of took on the project. I don't know. Again, I feel like franchises are just so it's just kind of, like, overdone, like, it's
Hmm.
just I feel like they would wanna, like, hop on the hype of it and be like, let's put it out, let's get all these directors onto the series. And I think it would just be too much, maybe right away. Maybe in like a
Yeah.
little bit down the road, I would like watch I feel like I would still watch the series if it
Oh
came
yeah, I
out,
would still watch it too.
but
I mean, yeah,
yeah,
regardless of
I
all
feel like
my
I'm
like
more
worries and stuff, I'm still gonna tune in.
I feel like I'm more interested in his new projects. I feel
Mhm.
like this really establishes him to be somebody who's super creative and can come up with interesting like lore ideas that could be, extended
Mhm.
on. So I'm intrigued by his other original film that's going to come out with Aaron Paul. And if that's
Yeah.
also horror or if it's a
Yeah,
different
so
genre.
the synopsis of that is it's basically these con artist spirit hunters. They'll go to people's houses and pretend there's ghosts so they can
Oh,
get
okay.
charged or whatever. And then they come across an actual house that has an actual demon and they got to figure out how to actually like, they go up against an actual demon. So that's what it is. No other details have come out about that other than it's a ghost movie with Aaron Paul and that's the premise. So I'm like, okay. I could see that.
That
I've
sounds
also
cool
heard
though.
theories of people being like, "Oh, what if the demon is the same demon from like Obsession?" I'm like, "All right, I think that's stretching a little too far." I
Yeah,
don't think
maybe.
everything needs to tie together and be a cinematic universe or anything crazy. But I am curious
Mhm.
since we're talking about his upcoming work. I don't know. Are you a big Texas Chainsaw fan, or have seen any of the movies or anything?
I've only seen the original. I
Okay.
haven't seen any of the remakes. I
Hmm.
think I I watched the original like for the first time in my first year of university with all of
Mm.
like my dorm friends. We were like sitting on one of our dorm beds and watching it on this tiny TV for Halloween, and it scared me a lot. I feel like it's pretty scary, like just seeing her running through the field and being attacked and being brought into like the House of Horrors. So I'm be
Hmm.
very interested to see what Curry does with it and if he does like a completely new take or if it's another remake or I feel like it's a
Yeah, I don't know.
series that has a lot, right? Like there's a lot of installments, isn't
There
there?
yes, there are I think 9 to 10 movies. I don't remember,
Mhm,
but yeah, there's a lot of them, and they go in a lot of different directions. Because like the first one is very serious, housey kind of movie. The second one's a
mhm.
comedy. Like they're
Oh,
parodying the
okay.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though it's made by the same dude, Toby Hooper. He always thought the first one was a black comedy, anyways. So he decided just to lean full black comedy with the second one, which I don't know how you watch the first Texas Chainsaw and go, yeah, that's a comedy. I don't see that, but all right. Then like
I don't know about that.
3 and 4 were weird. Like they're not that great. One of them has Matthew McConaughey in it. He plays one of the
Oh,
Leatherface's families. Yeah, that's the fourth one, and they make Leatherface a woman.
interesting.
So that was weird.
Oh, change it
Yeah,
up.
yeah, that was a little weird. But the like everyone arguably says the second best one next to the original, but I like it more than the original is the remake, the 2003 remake. I think that one was the best version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay.
It's scary, it's dark. They actually like make Leatherface not a sympathetic character, but they kind of like the in the original where it's like he is obviously the victim of this family. But then they made like another
Mhm.
remake after that was a direct sequel to the original. That wasn't that great. Then they made a prequel to the original called Leatherface, where you follow this kid who leaves an asylum and you think it's Leatherface the whole time, and then other things happen. You're like, oh, that's not Leatherface. Okay. And then they just made a new one for Netflix where it was a 40 years later sequel to the original. So it's like
Mm,
they've done all kinds of like
very
backward prequel sequels, all that stuff to the original movie. So I don't know
mhm.
where Curry Barker's going to land. I know he said he wants to focus on the family. Like he kind of doesn't want to focus on Leatherface. He just wants to focus on the family. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay. I mean, at this
That'd be
point, might as well do
cool.
something different. This franchise has been milked to
Mhm.
death for 10 plus movies. So I am curious to see, but definitely watching this movie, I noticed that he ain't afraid to lean into that, into the familyness of it, into the like craziness of it. And I could see that kind of being applied to Texas Chainsaw if they do it right, obviously. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see those
Mhm.
moments in like you did Obsession, where it's just bam, hits you with the gore immediately, no suspense, no nothing, just bam. I wouldn't be surprised if you see that with this Texas Chainsaw, where it's just a regular scene and then Leatherface just jumps in, or somebody, the hitchhiker, just jumps in and just causes the scene to go crazy. I wouldn't be surprised on that, but I am very much curious about his Leatherface because I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's one of my favorite franchises, and I always wondered. I'm like, what was so great about this Obsession movie that they just handed him the keys to like the original, if not the OG
I
slasher.
trust
Like I
him.
was, I guess, yeah.
He must have had a good pitch. Like, I feel like he
Yeah.
has an original pitch, like you said. Like, he wants to focus on the family a little bit more. Like, I haven't seen the original one that many times, but
Mhm.
when I did watch it, I had like a super fan with me, and she was trying to
Oh.
explain all this deep lore about the family and
Mhm.
Leatherface and like the different trauma he's been through and how he's actually more of a victim than it kind of seems
Mhm.
like he is. So I feel like, kind of doing like that perspective rather than focusing on like the final girl or something like that, which is obviously such a trait that's been used so much in the last couple years. I feel like with Maxine, I feel like that was really
Mhm.
big, final girl. So doing something a little bit more with the family, I feel like that could be like intriguing, but also with him, doing the slight gore at the end, I feel like it's also intriguing for such a gory franchise. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to see him dive more into that. And
Mhm.
maybe like right out of the gates, like you said, we have Letterface like just going at it. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I feel like that will be something for him to maybe have a lot of fun with, hopefully.
Mhm.
And he'll have like a good budget and maybe some
Now I'm curious,
celebrities or like
what do you want to see? Do you want to see a direct sequel to that original, or do you want to see like a brand new like remake or reboot of the original?
uh, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of him trying to elaborate on the family. Like, has there been a prequel?
Just one, Leatherface. That's the only prequel, and even then, that focused
That was
on
kind of like
Leatherface.
the
I didn't focus on
prequel.
the family or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like if maybe they did a little bit more of like a prequel focusing on the family or I'm not sure. I feel like either way would be actually pretty interesting. Like if he tried to do something
Mhm.
completely different, like I give that gives him a little bit more room, to try something original, but it is a franchise. So sometimes you want to stick to the goods, right? Because that's what the fans are coming for, right? So
Oh yeah.
I feel like yeah, I don't know. I wonder what his pitch was because with you saying, "Oh, like Obsession was amazing." Like I really did enjoy
Mhm.
it, but you're right, like just we're just going to hand you the keys to Texas
Mhm.
Chainsaw. Like so
Because
I'm
of that
excited.
one film.
I'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
interested. Yeah.
Now, to me, I'm gonna lean more towards a full blown remake, and I think it would be interesting if they did a remake and they actually set it in like the 80s or 90s. It'd be a different time
Okay.
period. We've never seen Texas
Mhm.
Chainsaw outside of the original 70s era. It's always been 70s, maybe early 80s. We've never seen Leatherface in what would be considered somewhat of a modern age. So I would love to see like Leatherface in like the early 90s, where you had a little bit of technology or you had a little bit of, some sort of cell phones. I think that'd be interesting, and I think it'd be a lot more scarier if you had like, someone tries to call and then like Leatherface just grabs them and you can just hear chainsaw revvings and scream on the other end of this like Nokia phone. You're like, what the hell's going on? I
Yeah.
feel like that would add a lot more scarier. And especially if you what I would like to see, especially if you're gonna do the 90s, what if someone brings like a camcorder and you just get these like black and
Ooh,
white POV camcorder shots? I think that would be kind of interesting if you did that, especially with that
yeah.
grainy, shitty kind of camera quality. I feel like there's a lot you could do with the era of the 90s or late 80s because you have technology and you can use some of that to your disposal. Like if someone's making like a Super 8 film reel and you get some Leatherface on that film reel or something. I feel like Leatherface, outside of, I'd probably say the new one, the new Netflix one they did, that was the only one that was set in modern day because they had cell phones, they had, streaming and YouTube and stuff. I feel like it'd be interesting to see Leatherface tackle the 90s or like late 80s, especially if you give it like that curry bar. Because I noticed with this movie, even though this movie's in modern day, it feels like an 80s movie, like with the score.
Mm,
Trying to tie it back to Obsession, it feels like an
yeah.
80s movie. It feels like something you would see John Carpenter make or like Wes Craven. Just a super simple
Yes.
premise
Yes.
that's just like crazy and bonkers, and it has like this 80s score on it. And I'm like, I want that for my Texas Chainsaw. I want like give me that vibe. Give me like a late 80s, early 90s John Carpenter vibe with Leatherface. I think we could have a really solid movie there.
Yeah, that could be really fun, like trying to do it in a different era and play into that technology. I think that could be giving it a little bit more of an original spin. Definitely. I would be interested in that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I guess before we wrap up Obsession, is there any last minute things you want to add to your Obsession spoilers before we move on to talking about other movies this month and the rest of the year?
Overall, I just think it's a pretty fun, solid film. I feel like it's pretty bold and eclectic. Definitely something I wasn't like expecting as
Hmm.
more of like a casual horror fan. Like I feel like you're so into horror. I love it. It's like
Yeah.
in 2026, it's one of the genres I'm trying to get more into. I'm trying to
Oh, for
catch up
sure.
on more classic horror, and I feel like it was one of the genres that I've just been like lacking on. And I feel like the
Hmm.
first half of 2026 has just been so horror heavy. Like so many horror films have come out and I have to catch up on some of them. Like I haven't seen Hokum yet, but I've
Oh,
heard
really?
great
Okay.
things about it. And so I'm just excited for horror in general. I just feel like it's a really great genre, and to be somebody who's like trying to, dive more into it, it's just exciting. And I thought
For sure.
Obsession was a great way to add to the box office for this year as well. Like I'm glad that people went out this weekend and saw it, and hopefully it
Hmm.
will do well, this weekend, like the second weekend it's been in the box
I
office
mean,
as
I think
well.
already, even if it's first weekend, it's made its budget back. 'Cause I think the budget was like 700,000, 800. Like it was under a million,
Oh, okay.
and they've already made 30 million just on Thursday night
Good.
previews alone. Like,
30 million. That's
yeah.
good. Like, people were really like lowballing that movie because I'm in like it's called Fantasy Film Ball. I don't know if you've ever
Mm,
heard of them.
I've seen
Um,
those before. Yeah, yeah. I've seen those.
yeah, so it's kind of like fantasy football, but we pick like movies, and nobody
Hmm.
had picked Obsession, and so I like looked it up, and people were really lowballing it. I think a lot of people were thinking it was only gonna make like maybe 10 million, and now
Yeah.
it's made 30 million. So yeah, I'm just excited for Curry's future and that whole cast as well. Cooper too, I believe. That's the guy that plays Ian. I think
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
his name.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like
that's his name.
Curry's like creative partner, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. I think from what I understand,
Um,
they've been friends since college. So yeah, they've been pretty much in
yeah.
every project together.
So I'm just excited for what's next.
Where would you rank Obsession so far in your rankings of the year? Like number one, number two?
Um, I have it, I think, in my top 10.
Oh,
Let
okay.
me check.
While you do
Um,
that, I'll go ahead and tell them where my placement is. Right
it's
now,
number 8.
Obsession's probably in my top five. That's where it's at. Definitely it's not beating Project Hail Mary for sure. That's my number one of the year is Project Hail Mary, but I think Obsession would be like
Mhm.
number four. That's just off the top of my
I
head.
have it here on my 2026 ranked list. It's
Oh,
number
nice.
8, but then we have like specials. Like I have the Muppet Show and like the
Mm.
Gary the Bear special are also on
Oh
this
yeah, yeah,
list.
yeah, yeah.
So I feel like if it's just movies, it's like in the top 5. So
Top
it's
five.
really
What is your
solid.
number
I
one so
really
far of
liked
the
it.
year, movie wise?
My number 1 is 28 Years Later, Bone Temple.
Really? Okay. Okay. Huh.
Yes. Nothing's been able to top that yet for me. I
That's
saw
not a
that at
bad
the
one.
very
That's not a bad
beginning of
one.
the
Yeah.
year, and I really love it.
Huh. Well, I guess
Mhm.
we can use that as a perfect segue to get off of Obsession onto other
Yeah,
movies. What do
perfect.
you think about the
There
Bone
you go.
Temple? Like, I thought for me
Oh,
it was better than 28 Years Later. For me, like,
I agree. I thought it was just slightly better than 28 Years Later. I really like 28 Years Later. I feel like it's kind of more, with um
Aaron
Aaron
Taylor Johnson,
Taylor Johnson, playing, like, the dad, and we have, Spike, that's the,
Spike. Yep, that's
young
Spike. Yeah.
guy's name, right? Yeah, so seeing kind of, like, them grow up and having their little bond, and I f I like the idea of, like, the island and introducing that lore and showing us more of Ralph Fiennes' character with the doctor and being
Oh, Dr.
introduced
Ian Kelson. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and being introduced through Jodie Comer, but just having it being even more extended and I feel like turned up a notch in the Bone
Hmm.
Temple. Like, it's just I love it. I think it's such a fantastic film. I'm a big lore person, like, I really
Yeah.
love deep into lore and having different theories, and so, having all of the different, the 28 days later, 28 weeks, 28 years, like all of this zombie lore I just find very interesting. Like I was a big
Mhm.
Walking Dead fan, so
I
I
was
also
too, yeah.
yeah, like I have a sweet spot for zombies. So I feel like this is such a
Mhm. I mean, I
interesting
love
zombie
Resident
world.
Evil. I don't know, like, I love Resident Evil for that exact reason, yeah, so, yeah, I get
Isn't
you.
the new is Resident Evil having a new one coming out later this year too?
They have a movie coming out in September. It's made by the dude who
Yeah,
made
okay.
Weapons and Barbarian, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that Cracker was doing that.
Yeah, Zach
Okay,
Cregger's
we'll
doing it.
talk about that in a little
There's
bit,
some
but
controversy surrounded by that movie because he's doing his own thing, he's not adapting the video games. So you got a lot of video game fans
okay,
being like, "Oh, you're just taking the name and
upset.
making your own horror movie with it." But he's also kinda loosely tying it back to the games. It's a weird thing, but as a fan, I'm like, "Hey, Zach Cregger's doing a Resident Evil movie, I'm there," 'cause Zach Cregger's the
Mhm.
shit.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to see that one as well, but yeah, I loved 28 Years Later Bone Temple. I think the whole scene with Dr. Kelson, like, with the fire at the end, doing the
The
whole, like,
Iron Maiden scene was badass,
ritual.
yeah.
Yeah, that was incredible. I also had, like, a really good, theater reaction to that. People
Was it an
I
early
I was
screening
in
as well?
awe. It was an early screening,
Okay,
yeah, and people were also in awe. You could just we all clapped after, like
fair
the
enough.
scene ended with the fire and everybody started to clap, and I was like, "Yeah, it's so deserving." So, I'm excited. I want we haven't had the next one greenlit,
I was just
and
about to ask, like, do you think the third one's actually gonna happen? I saw that the actor who plays Spike, posted like a picture, I think like a week or so ago, and it was just him with the bow and arrow, and he was like, "We're back," and a lot of people are like,
oh,
"28
I
years?
hope
Are we doing
not.
28
Okay,
years?
I
What's going
haven't
on here?"
seen
Like,
that. I saw Nia DaCosta talk about how it didn't do very well at the
yeah,
box
it didn't.
office, like, somebody asked her about it and how she feels about it and, like, what that means for the franchise and stuff, so I think she was just I feel like it was kind of, in the works, like, they were hoping it
Mhm,
would, like, lead right into making a 3rd one for this, like, trilogy. I think they are, like, kind of disappointed that it didn't make a lot of money, but I think it's also the studio's fault for putting it in January
Well, I was
and
gonna
not
say,
doing a
what do
whole
you
lot of
think is the reason?
marketing.
What do you think was the reason why it failed? Was you because I know a lot of people were very iffy on that first 28 Years Later movie. It was very divisive. Some people didn't like it. Some people loved it. I've heard mixed theories on like, did it fail because it came out too soon? It came out literally 28, weeks later from the first one, or was so many people hated the ending with the Jimmies and just how Power Rangery goofy it became that people expected that to be the sequel. Like, I didn't know what your theories on why it failed.
I feel like it's a mixture of things. I feel like maybe it coming out so soon did kinda damage it a little bit. I try and think of it right now, like, oh, like, what if Bone Temple came out, like, in June?
Mhm.
Or July. I think it would have made a lot of money, especially
Mhm.
off of word of mouth, like, people hearing, like, the action and stuff that's in it. I feel like people, and now that horror like, it's been such a big horror year, I feel like people would have gone in droves. I feel like because it was
Mhm.
at the beginning of the year, right after Christmas, we were in the middle of awards season, like, I feel like
Mhm.
it just kinda, like, got lost. And, like, Nia DaCosta, she did Hedda, and she did the
Mhm.
Marvels, but I feel like she's unfortunately, people still don't really think of her as, like, a household
Oh
name.
yeah.
So I feel like that as well, like, it wasn't, Danny Boyle doing it again, right? So I feel like maybe that was another thing, and with people having such, like, weird disdain for the ending of 28 Years Later, I think it was a bunch of different factors. I think January is just historical for not being like a big box office month,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Like you never know, sometimes they do pick up, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think they just kind of like threw it there and they didn't like market it enough. And when it kind of started to fail at the box office, they just forgot about it. So it makes me sad because I really
No, fair
liked
enough.
it.
Especially because I think the ending left off on what we all wanted to see with the first 28 Years Later. We're like, yeah, I want to see that film now. That's the movie I
Yes,
was promised back with the start of
exactly.
this trilogy.
Right?
I want to see now.
And now they're and now like come on, like we gotta greenlit it now that we have that post-credit scene, like with
Mhm.
Killian back, like and his daughter, like the whole future of them seeing Spike and uh,
Mhm.
the other girl, one of the Jimmies running through the
Yeah.
field, being attacked, like exactly, like that was what we wanted. Like that's leaving off of more of like a hopeful ending
Mhm.
compared to like the Jimmy's ending, which was like, what is this? So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm surprised it didn't like pick up. I thought maybe more people would be like, oh, like when it went on streaming or something, like more
Mhm.
people would have like been like, oh, everybody watched Bone Temple, but I feel like I haven't heard much about it.
Yeah, no, I agree because like it was a film that just kind of came and went, and it sucks because I feel like it's a film that should still be in the conversation even 5 months later. Of like, no, that was a great horror movie. Like, I'm not gonna say it might honestly rival Obsession. I'd have to watch 28 Years one more time and really solidify on it, but it has the chance to be that kind of. Yeah, I could still see this being the number one of the year so far. I mean, we still got a lot of great horror movies coming out, but I can definitely see for
Mhm.
sure it topping that for sure. Before Obsession, my number one horror was probably Primate. That came out earlier in the year as well. I don't know if you saw Primate or not.
I didn't catch it, but I did hear like a lot of different, discussion around it. I feel like it was one of the first, besides Bone Temple, one of the first big
Mhm.
films of the year. I didn't go see it because animal stuff kind of makes me
Oh yeah,
iffy.
that's fair enough.
Because I knew it's a monkey, right?
Yeah, it's a
Um,
monkey that gets this like it's kind of like Cujo, where it just gets this like virus inside of him, makes him go like crazy and stuff. So yeah, it's very much like Cujo but with a monkey.
but you really liked it then? Like you
I
were a
liked
big
it just
fan of
because it
it?
felt like a throwback 80s. Like it felt like something you would watch on like late night when you're scrolling through TV and find it. Like it felt like one of those type of movies. It's very simple, very, you know what you're getting when you see a killer monkey movie. You're getting very nasty kills. You're getting a monkey on the loose. It felt very much like just a throwback, hey, this is B schlock and we're here for it kind of film. And so I enjoyed that. And then 28 years later came out and that was my number one. And then now Obsession came out and now that was my number
Mhm.
one. So I definitely I liked it. I think it's one of those that kind of got slept on because 28 Years came out about 2 weeks later. It kind of just got thrown underneath the radar and not let people watch that. Did you watch Scream 7?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Really? Okay.
I've seen all the Screams, I just haven't seen Scream 7.
Ah,
But
gotcha,
I've
gotcha.
watched all the other ones leading up to this one. I just didn't get the chance to see it yet.
Hmm.
I feel like I didn't hear like super amazing things about it though. So,
Yeah,
what were your thoughts?
to me, so I'm on the island when it comes to horror franchises that there's three consistent horror franchises. It used to be Chucky, and it's not no more. And Evil Dead, I think is still consistent. I think there's like 5 movies, they're all pretty consistent. And then Scream used to be pretty consistent. 6 movies straight. I think they were all bangers. Even Scream 3, I know nobody likes Scream 3. I like that movie. To me, my personal favorite's always been Scream 4. I grew up watching Scream 4. I liked Scream 4. That's my personal favorite, even over the original, which is probably a hot take, but I like Scream 4. And Scream 7 left me frustrated and left me very disappointed because I was like, man, like, I don't like that y'all like Sideline, Tara, and Melissa Barrera and all that shit, but it's okay. I get it. Things happen. I'm willing to move on with Sydney, especially with Sydney. And then the movie they
Yeah.
just gave us was like, I kind of just don't care. Like, and then like the things that they add, like I'm sure you've seen in the trailers, they're teasing returning characters. What they did with the
Yes.
returning characters, I thought was just pointless. Like I was like, you could have done something cool with that, but instead you didn't. And so at the end of the day, it just kind of felt like, okay, you brought them back to get me in the seat, but you didn't do anything interesting with those characters. So it just kind of felt pointless, even more pointless. And so the whole movie to me just kind of felt pointless. And then you would think, okay, the movie's kind of pointless. At least the third act, the killer reveal, maybe could help the film a little bit better. And the killer reveal is one of the worst killer reveals in the entire franchise, arguably the worst. And I'm
Uh,
someone who didn't like the killer reveals in 5 and 6 because I thought they were very predictable.
okay.
This one was even more
Mhm.
predictable. And so, like, just the whole experience, I just walked away going, there were some cool moments and it was cool to see maybe some returning characters, but it didn't make me feel any less excited than I did walking into it because of everything that happened previously. So I was like, that sucks because Scream is to me the most consistent franchise out of all of them. To me, it's always been 6 movies. You cannot go wrong with any of those movies. And then now you just messed it up with Scream 7. And now I don't know what the hell you're going to do with Scream 8 because you set yourself up to kind of, I'm not going to say reboot again,
Another
but you
one.
set yourself up. You set yourself up to just do the same thing you did again in Scream 7. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now you're becoming the franchises that you used to parody in your early films. You're becoming that exact same franchise, and it's disappointing to see because
Right.
Scream, when it came out a couple years ago, the fifth one, it seemed like, oh, we're back on top. Scream is back, and it's better than ever. Just for 2 movies later and a couple years later, we're already bottom of the barrel. This franchise needs to go away, and it's like that sucks because you could have done so much great things with Scream, and they kind of fumbled it, and I don't understand why, but whatever.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really solid series. I
Mhm,
feel okay. I haven't watched Six in a while. I feel like I watched it like last year was the
mhm,
most recent time I watched it. I feel like I didn't love that one as much. I thought five was okay.
mhm.
I love the original ones, with
Yeah.
like all the cast, and I feel like it was nice, them trying to like bring in like a new generation with these characters and, everything that goes down. But it makes me upset that I feel like they've really tried to like rush into this like legacy, the franchise really making all these sequels when they did have solid entries the last couple,
Mhm,
like with five and six. A- Like I wasn't like the biggest fan of them, but I know overall, like they were really enjoyed and really embraced, and people did love the new generation. And out of all these franchises that have been doing like the legacy sequels, I feel like it's been able to hit it and be solid with the entries that they've put in. So it's
mhm,
disappointing to hear that, with seven, and specifically like with the reveal, like they're kind of dropping it and not giving the fans what they deserve, especially when they've been around, for so many
mhm,
decades, supporting this franchise, supporting the creativity of it. And yeah, I haven't heard amazing things from it, but my goal is to do like a big like horror rewatch this summer. Like I
mm,
love
nice.
doing like horror in the summertime. Like I know that's kind of
Mhm.
like a theme,
It's
and I
Summerween,
feel like
yeah.
yeah, summerween, there you go, that's the phrase, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like I need to do, like, a whole catch up of, like, the 2026 horror that I haven't watched, and Screen 7 will definitely be on that list for sure,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
with,
I
like, the
mean,
people coming back with, like, Sydney, right? Like, I feel like you
yeah.
can't not watch it when Sydney's back in it, right?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I feel like Scream 5 did a beautiful job at retiring Sydney. It's like, all right, this franchise is not
Yeah.
about Sydney no more. It's somebody else. Just for you in Scream 7 to be like, no, 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 it's about Sydney. This franchise lives with Sydney. And it's like, so now you
Like,
kind of
"Never
paint
mind,
yourself in a
let's bring her
corner to
back."
where you kind of paint yourself in a corner where you cannot escape Sydney now because you made it a big deal in this movie to be like, no, this franchise Scream isn't without Sydney. And it's like, but what are we doing? Like, are we gonna do the Jamie Lee
Right?
Curtis thing where it's just you're gonna do it until she's 90? Like, what do we what are we
Maybe,
doing here? And
right?
and it's like that's just disappointing to see because it's like Scream is such a franchise. I feel like you don't need Sydney. Like I love Sydney, don't get me wrong, but you don't need those characters. You don't need Sydney. You don't need Gail. You just literally take a person in the ghost face mask, go up against other teenagers in wherever, not even Woodsboro. You can put it somewhere else. And you could just go. I mean, I feel like that's what Scream 6 showed off very well is that you don't need Woodsboro. You can go to New York City,
Yeah, New York.
California, wherever, and it still has that same effect. And if anything, makes it more interesting and refreshing to set it in a different place. So it's just it sucks to see a franchise just go back to its roots because it fumbled the ball of why it needs to be different in the first place.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
especially like your
definitely.
point when you were making that it's one of those where it's like you ran out of steam already. Like this is not a franchise where every single entry was a great entry, and then you ran out already 2 movies later. And the thing
Yeah.
with Scream 7 too is they don't have anything meta to say. Like I don't know if you saw the interviews of Kevin Williamson or anything. He came out and said Seven has no meta commentary. It's the first Scream movie with no meta commentary. And it's like that's the
What's
whole
the
point of Scream
point?
though.
Like,
Like every
yeah,
movie had something to say, whether it was Scream 4
the Wes
parodying
Craven
sequels, Scream
wanted,
5 reboots,
like
exactly. And so now it's just like, oh, so it's just a typical slasher now. There's no meta commentary, there's no
yeah,
nothing. It's just a typical slasher. you've turned into the exact same thing that you used to make fun of. So it's just
Mhm.
Scream's one of those.
Coming across
I'm
it.
interested to see what they do with 8. Obviously, I hope that they fix it. They're getting new writers. Kevin Williamson's not directing
Oh,
anymore.
that's
They're
good.
getting a new team, but they fast tracking this thing. Like they want this out by next year. And I'm like, I don't. Are we turning this into Saw
That's
now, where
a
every single
really
year we're
fast
getting a Scream movie?
turnaround.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't know if you know, like Saw used to do that. Every single year you'd get a Saw
Mhm.
movie for like a decade plus. And you saw how that franchise turned out. It just got bad, worse and worse over time.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that for Scream.
Too
I don't want to be on Scream 10
oversaturated.
or 11 and I'm like, here we go. Like I don't want that.
Yeah. I feel like with the reboots, 5 and 6, like, they really lived up to the hype for a lot of people, and obviously with all the drama that went down behind the scenes, like I feel like they're just trying to, make everything seem pretty again, and
Mhm,
they're like, we got to put this out for the fans, the people who love Sydney and the original characters, we got to get this out. And I feel like maybe they rushed it, like maybe they
oh,
should
for
have
sure.
just waited, done a couple more drafts, or come up with a little bit more of an intriguing storyline. And I feel
Mhm.
like the same go for 8. Like, obviously, we don't know until 8 comes out, but I feel like a year turnout is really quick, and, like, I love when movies come out quickly, like, don't get me wrong, but, sometimes it's not always a positive sign,
I'd rather
so
have quantity over quality for sure.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
same. Much more quality over quantity.
Yeah. Which is one more big horror release that came out, then we'll start talking about the future. What'd you think of Lee Cronin's The Mummy? Or if you saw that.
Watch it
Oh, you didn't
either.
watch that one? Ah, damn.
No. Sorry. But I did hear people saying that they weren't, like, a big fan of it.
It's a mixed
Did
bag
you
for
like
sure,
it?
yeah. I enjoyed it because it just honestly reminded me of an Evil Dead film, like the one he did previously, Evil Dead Rise. It
Okay.
felt very much like that movie, but with just you put a mummy skin over it, and that's what I was like, okay, I don't mind that. Like, Mummy's never been my favorite of the Universal monsters. It's always been Frankenstein, which I loved. Guillermo del Toro's
Yeah.
Frankenstein from last year. I absolutely love that film, but I didn't
Yes.
mind it. There were some aspects of it that I'm like, all right, been there, done that, seen this, seen that, but it felt honestly like The Exorcist meets Evil Dead with a little bit of a mummy skin over it,
Okay.
and it's not bad. I don't think it's one of the best of the year. I definitely don't think it's the scariest of the year, but I definitely think it was better than the Wolfman that Lee Cronin, or not Lee Cronin, Lee Winnell put out last year. It's way better than that
Okay.
film, but it's not better than like The Invisible Man or like Frankenstein or anything. It just has like a nice little, like, it's good, but not anything to write home about. But not, it doesn't suck. Other than, because again, you know how Blumhouse movies are. Like they're hit or miss. You never know what you're getting with the Blumhouse films. So I would say like on the roster of Blumhouse, it fits comfortably right there in the middle of, it's fine. It's not great. It's not horrible, but it's just fine.
Mhm. See, I liked Wolfman from last year. I thought it was kind of
Really?
interesting. I definitely think it was,
Okay.
like, middle ground.
Hmm.
Like, it's not like it wasn't, like, super compelling. I feel like it was
Hmm.
pretty dark, like, you couldn't
Yeah.
see a lot of things happening, but I liked, like, the humanity that they brought into it with, like, the father-son relationship at the beginning of the
Hmm.
film, and then we had, like, the father-daughter and the wife. Like, I thought all of that humanity, family stuff was pretty interesting as Christopher Abbott, transforms into the
Hmm.
creature, and he's thinking back to his father and stuff like that. So, and The Invisible Man, I really like that film. So,
I like that film. Yeah.
um, yeah, so I feel like with my horror rewatch, The Mummy definitely has to be in there, especially if you're saying that you liked it more than Wolfman. I feel
Yeah.
like
Which
I
I didn't
definitely
hate
need to
Wolfman,
watch
I
it
was
then.
just disappointed by Wolfman for sure, because it's Lee Winnell, and he did The Invisible Man
Yeah,
previously, so I was expecting
yeah,
that, and then I watched it and I was like, "Oh,
not the
it's
same
not
level.
that kind of film." Gotcha, yeah,
Yeah.
and the only thing that I think holds that movie back for me personally is just the werewolf design. I don't think it's the greatest. Like, I know what they were going for, like this real
Um,
disease wolf dog kind of vibe, but I'm like, I don't like it just because it looks goofy. Like, it looks a little, like, goofy looking,
it kind of
but I
reminded
I I
me
liked everything
of,
else.
American
American Werewolf in
in
London?
London.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like,
like that film,
that
yeah, that's my favorite.
transformation kinda reminded me of
Yeah.
that a little bit, so, yeah, I thought it was an interesting take, but I definitely don't think it was, like, Not
I
up to
definitely
the
feel
level
like
of Invisible
I
Man,
definitely feel like
definitely.
with Lee Winnell, it should have been better. Like that's the thing. If you put somebody else's name on it, I probably would have been a little bit kinder to it. But you put Lee
Mhm.
Winnell on it, I'm expecting Lee Winnell. I'm expecting, the
Stakes
upgrade,
are
the
higher.
the Insidious movie, the Invisible Man. Like, I'm expecting that level. And
Mhm.
compared to his other work, it's not that. And it's like anybody else could have made this movie. This is not Lee Winnell.
Okay, yeah, none of his, like, unique flares kinda stick out.
hmm Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a little bit disappointed, but it
Disappointing.
wasn't terrible. I didn't hate it. Yeah, I didn't hate it. But talking about the future of horror films, what's some? I know we got two big ones coming out, Passengers and Backrooms. But
Mhm.
besides just those two, is there any other upcoming horror films that you're excited to see as someone who's like kind of new to the genre?
Well, we talked about Resident
Mhm.
Evil, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I liked Weapons. I was
I
kinda
liked
mixed
Weapons
on
too. Yeah.
it. I wasn't, like, one of the people who thought it was, like, a five-star film, but I do think it was pretty original. I haven't seen
hmm
Barbarian, so I can't
Really?
compare
Okay.
it to that. Yeah. I need to watch it, but
hmm
I'll probably watch it before Resident Evil, but I feel like with Curry Barker, Zach Cregger's is another, like, really promising director
Yeah.
in horror, and, personally, I like Osgood Perkins. I know some people don't
I do
necessarily like
too. I do
him.
too. Yeah.
Um,
He's 2 for 2 for
okay,
me. I liked The Monkey and what was the first film that he had?
Long
Before The Monkey.
Legs?
Long Legs. I loved Long
Yeah,
Legs. Like I even have it here. I'll grab it real quick.
same.
I have the steel book for Long
Oh,
Legs.
awesome. I love it. Oh, looks
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I
I
really
know they're
liked
doing a
both of those
sequel, which is kind
films
of
too.
interesting.
Yes, I heard that they're developing that, which would be cool.
Yeah.
So I feel like, Osgood, Zach Cregger's, like Curry, like these are some of the new like horror people. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to see Resident Evil. I'm like, what else is coming out this year? Horror
We
films
have the
in
new Evil Dead movie coming out in
2026.
July. There's that. That's another big
Oh,
horror movie coming
okay.
out. I know
I feel
Resident
like
Evil
that
one's
would be
in
pretty
September
good.
for sure. Trying to
Who's
think. I know we have the
doing
back
the
rooms and
Evil Dead?
passenger. It's a new upcoming director. I have no idea the name, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
a new upcoming director. Yeah.
Mhm. A horror film, I think it's like a horror adjacent film.
Mhm.
Have you heard of Leviticus?
I've heard people coming out of festivals talking about that, but I've kept
Hmm.
that on my radar for sure. Yeah.
I don't know if it was at Fantasia or something, but that's supposed to be kind of cool. They're doing like an advanced screening in Toronto in a couple weeks with like a
Huh.
virtual screening with the director. And I think it's like a
hmm
first time, or maybe it was at Sundance. I can't remember. It was at a festival recently. Um,
Hmm.
but I guess that's kind of like playing on like religious horror themes, kind of like an
Yeah.
immaculate. Like I don't know if it's not going to be exactly like immaculate, but I liked immaculate and the whole different religious themes there. I feel like with like the nun and stuff, you also have different religious themes in those films. So I feel like Leviticus will be interesting to also dive into like religious horror. Um,
hmm
so yeah, those I guess those three are three horror films I've been hearing people talk about.
I've been hearing people talk
But
about
what about you?
Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man. I don't know if you heard anything about that. That's coming out.
I know Eli Roth, but I don't think I haven't heard Ice Cream Man.
Yeah, he's doing a movie
It's
called
not on
The
my
Ice Cream
radar.
Man. I don't know anything about it. I know it comes
Like a
out sometime I think in
kidnapping
August.
or
Yeah,
something,
it's
like
supposed to be
luring
about this guy
kids
who
or
kidnaps kids and puts them in an ice cream truck, and then he kills them, and then he uses them as the ice cream to serve to other people. Yeah, it's supposed to be like this really gnarly,
okay.
nasty fucking film. Yeah, and then I know there's another film coming
Wow.
out that people
Gotta look
screaming
that up.
the heavens about is the new Insidious movie, Out of the Further. That's coming out in July as well,
Oh, okay.
or August. August. Yeah,
Who's doing
but yeah, that was
that?
I don't know who's doing it, but I know
Another new
Lee.
director?
I think it might be another new director, but I know Lynn Shay's coming back to play the same character. Of course, it's Insidious. But the interesting premise with that one I thought was kind of interesting is they're taking the further out. So like this girl, she has the ability to bring the further into the real world. instead of actually going to the further.
Okay.
That's what the premise is. And I'm like, that could be interesting if you do something interesting with
Mhm.
that. But yeah, like the big movie are the two ones coming out this month, which are Passengers and the Backrooms. Which I know you said before you're interested in the Backrooms, but were you interested in Passengers as well? Since that's coming out this weekend.
I feel like I hadn't heard too much about it until recently. Like, it wasn't, like, really on my radar, but then I've seen maybe in the last, like, 2, 3 weeks, people have been posting about it, and,
Hmm.
I don't know if you follow, like, Cinema Joe, and he has, like, a
Hmm.
podcast, but they were talking about it the other day, how they're excited about it, and it seems kind of, like, interesting, because it's like a hitchhiker type horror film?
Something like that. The trailer didn't really spell out what it was about. It was just basically like this
Mhm.
haunted road and like people who go on it
Oh,
get possessed
okay.
and stuff. So like it's weird. The marketing was the weirdest thing because like they had one trailer and that trailer played for like 4 months in theaters only.
Oh, really? I
They
feel
never
like
put
I've
it out.
never
Yeah.
seen this trailer.
Yeah, so like the trailer, I
Like,
know like the earliest I saw this trailer
I go to the movies a
was when
lot.
I went to go see Good Luck Have Fun Don't Die early February. I started
Okay, I
seeing
haven't
it.
seen that this year yet.
That that one's really good too. That was my number 1 until Project Hail Mary came out, but
That's
I
Sam
started seeing the
Rockwell,
trailer
right?
with that movie. Yeah, with Sam Rockwell, and it's like an AI kind of movie. It was really good.
Mm,
It's different. Give it like a couple minutes. It's weird, but it's a really good one. But I started seeing it since that movie, and I think I stopped seeing it play in theaters in like The Mummy. So I saw it from like February, March, and April. Just one trailer, and it's not even really a trailer. It's like a scene because it just opens with them driving, and his passenger buddy needs to take a piss, so he stops. He goes out. He takes a piss. He comes back to the car. The driver's gone. So he gets in the car, tries to crank it, and the guy falls from the ceiling. Like he falls from the sky, lands on there, then gets pushed into the woods. And then it's just him driving, trying to get away, and he keeps passing this one like hobo looking guy over and over and over again. And then one of the final shots is him,
okay.
he passes it, and as soon as he passes him, he teleports into the passenger's thing and screams in his face, and that's the cut of the trailer. And that's all they played for like 3 months was that one trailer, passengers, no release date, just there you go. And then it wasn't until recently, like end of April, they actually put out full length trailer on YouTube, and that's like the only trailer that they put out is just that full length trailer on YouTube. And I'm like, the marketing's weird because they're not telling much, but they're also not showing much, and they're also like doing really late marketing. So I don't know if that's intentional or what's going on with that, but it's created a lot of buzz very quickly, very shortly.
I feel like it's a pretty small horror film,
Yeah,
right? Do you know who's
I
doing
think
like,
so. I want to
is it
say
oh,
it's
it's
Focus.
Paramount.
Oh, is it Paramount? Okay, I knew it was one of the
This is
smaller-ish
Paramount
companies like
Pictures.
Paramount or Focus. Yeah. So yeah, Paramount's doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I know any of the people who are in it.
I don't know. Yeah, I've
Um
looked into it. I don't know anybody who's attached, so it's purely indie for all
Well,
I
it
know.
sounds interesting. I feel like I try to avoid trailers. I used to be like a
Me
big
too.
trailer person, and you know, I still watch some trailers, but I feel like nowadays, like they often give away a lot that happened in the films, or they
100%.
highlight
Especially
some of the
Blumhouse
best
movies.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they often put like the biggest jump scares in the trailer or something, and then you don't get to enjoy them in the
Which you know
theater.
what's so
So,
weird about
uh,
that is he's come out and say they purposely do that because they feel like if they like statistically shows that if studios put in more scenes from the ending or like the third act stuff, that audiences are more likely to buy a ticket. So studios are
yeah.
purposely doing that, which is weird. Like that's a weird like
I know.
statistic and
I feel like
and
it's
thing,
because
but
it's, like, the climax, you know? It's the most,
yeah.
like, exciting part, like, visually exciting
Mhm.
part of the film is usually when some of the most action goes down, so I can understand that, but or, like, even, like, like, the obsession first still image was Bear
Mhm.
at the very end of the film covered in blood.
Mhm.
Like, I that's why I thought Obsession was going to be blood-filled was because the first still was him covered in blood, you know?
Yeah.
So, I feel like with Passengers, like, I'll be interested to see because I haven't seen the trailer, just like what you've
Mhm.
described, that intriguing like, I'm wondering if it's like a loop? Like, are they stuck on this
Mhm.
road loop, like they drove through a certain spot and now they can never get off this
Like one of those
path
Bermuda
and
Triangle situations, yeah.
yeah, Yeah, but I'll be interested to see, like, with the hobo, like, looking guy, like, if he is a part of this, like, evil entity or whatever that's going
Mhm.
on in the forest, or, and you said that the one guy, like, disappears or something, right? Like, he
Yeah.
had, like, a
Yeah,
driver?
the driver dude, he
He
got he got taken away when the dude was in the woods taking a piss. Don't know what happened to him and
Yeah,
until he
so it's like,
fell
what
on the
happens
car,
to
yeah.
him, you know? So, I really like when they, don't show, like, the creature, whatever it is,
Oh,
like,
for
the
sure, yeah.
monster in the trailer, so I definitely wanna go see that one. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it this weekend because I'm pretty busy. I might go see it on
Mhm,
Tuesday maybe,
mhm,
um, but I'm excited about it because I feel like it's been getting a lot of talk. Like, a lot of people have been talking about it, so
yeah.
yeah.
And then I know that the big one outside of Obsession was the Backrooms, which I know you're pretty excited about that, at least you said earlier you were.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that one. Again, like, I feel like it's kind of like a world filled with lore. So I
Well,
love
so you know the
lore.
internet, like, side of it, or are you just looking at it from purely as a film?
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't say like I'm like a super dedicated fan to the Backrooms lore and everything, but I have like watched Kane's series on YouTube.
Mhm.
So I do have like that background, and I have like, done some like Reddit deep dives and stuff about
Yeah.
people's theories and seeing different maps, and I've definitely watched like deep dives on YouTube of people like what they think like each clip means, and like what asyncs like the company is doing, like what are they
Mhm.
trying to store, and like their motivations. And I'm a really big Chiwetel Ejiofor fan. I
Hmm,
love him. He's one of my favorite actors, and I really love Renata Rinsby after like last year
mhm,
as well, and Worst Person of the World. So I'm excited to see them get to take on this film because I feel like it's such a small film, like, with a first-time director who's also really young, and they're like, "Okay, you know what? We're gonna trust him. We're gonna give him
mhm,
a budget. We're going to give him these 2 Academy, nominated actors, like, let's go for it." So, I'm
mhm,
excited because it feels like such a big project, and
mhm.
I know they're writing on a lot, but I think it's going to be pretty satisfying.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's gonna be better than Obsession so far, or do you think it's too early to tell if it will be?
I think it's a little too early to
Mhm,
tell. I feel like they're going to be very different. Like, I feel like
mhm,
Backrooms might be a little bit more gory, um,
hmm,
and, like, with the creatures and stuff that they have, like, I'll be interested to see their take on it because I feel like they're
mhm,
very limited in his web series, so I'm
mhm,
wondering how they're going to, like, expand on it, and just, like, the idea of the Backrooms in general, like, how much are we going to explore of it? Does is it gonna feel a little bit more big world compared to
mhm,
Obsession? Because I feel like Obsession is kind of a little bit more small scale, like you mentioned, it didn't have, like, a smaller budget.
mhm.
So, yeah, I feel like I'm still gonna love Obsession, but I'll be interested to see which one I end up liking a little bit more in the end.
Hmm. Yeah, that could be like a fun ranking to like see. Like you
Mhm.
could take the three biggest horror films of May and like put them up against each other. Which one was better? Which one was best? And I think that'd be a fun.
Right?
I think, I think it would be shocking to see if the Backrooms is actually so like because it's technically a video game movie. I think it'd be shocking to see if the Backrooms is the most accurate video game movie because you have the
Mm,
dude who did the YouTube channels and it looks already very like the Backrooms. That would be funny to say, "Hey, what's the most accurate video game movie?" And you're like, "The Backrooms." When we've had Sonic, Mortal Kombat, like these other movies that have come out, and you're like, "Oh, The Backrooms is the most faithful." I
mhm.
think that'd be kind of
Well, I've
funny to say
heard
as a video
that.
game fan.
Yeah, I feel like I they're gonna use that style, like the video game style. I've heard that there's different parts that are live action and parts that are more like rendered, kind of like
Like
his
found
YouTube
footagey.
videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, more found footagey. So I obviously that will kind of like play into like Blair Witch as well, like with found footage, little trope. So yeah, I'll be interested to see like how people react to it, if they think it's very accurate to the the video game
Mhm.
concept. or if they're like, "Oh, this is completely different. You like ruined it." Like I'm very interested to see the reception from the fans afterwards because I feel like there's some very dedicated backroom fans.
Oh yeah. It's like the FNAF community. Yeah, you make one wrong move and
Mhm.
they're on you. They're on you for sure. I am
Exactly.
curious too because this is A24's first major IP. Like I know they got Crystal Lake coming out this year, and I think they
Mhm.
just tied another big franchise. Oh, Elden Ring. They got Elden Ring now. They're making an Elden Ring movie.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm like, they're delving their toes into IPs, but the Backrooms is their very first like major video game or whatever IP. So I'm interested to see in their eyes how it's going to do. Because if it does really well, then they're going to lean more like, well, let's get other video games, let's get other properties, let's become the
Yeah.
Blumhouse better version of movies. So I'm curious to see for them how it does. And of course, I'm interested too. I grew up in the era of creepypastas, so I know more about like the Slendermans and the Jeff the Killers and that era
Okay.
of the internet of horror. I don't know much about like the Poppy's Playtime and the Backrooms and stuff like that. Like I'm not into that, and I don't know anything about it. So to me, I'm walking in purely as the movie. I know a little bit of the lore. I played a little bit of like the Backrooms games like on PlayStation and stuff, but I've never like you never did a deep dive into the Reddits or nothing like that. I was never that diehard of a Backrooms person where I'm like, I need to know what the limit of spaces are about. Like
Mhm.
I
No,
never thought about
I
that.
like fell down a deep dive, you know? I like got sucked in, like doing like a YouTube, like, oh, you click on one video and then you just clicking on the all the videos, right? So yeah, I definitely feel like I wonder if they would like expand into like another Backrooms movie if it
Mhm,
does really well, or if they will, try and aim more for like video game franchises to like pick up on, especially
mhm.
because A24 used to be like this like, like, it's still an
Artsy. Yeah.
indie, art house type thing, but obviously they are a little bit more interested in some of their projects that they're picking now, and they're putting a lot more money towards certain
Mhm,
films, and obviously, this one, they are hoping it's gonna make a lot of money, and I think it will. So, I'll be interested to see, like, obviously with, like, Last of Us and all these other, video game franchises that have been, I feel like they've been really, like, hit and miss,
mhm.
like with Last of Us, of course, like the first season did so well, and then people really didn't like the second season because it was so different from
Yeah.
the source material. So I'm wondering, if this is like different from the source material from people, what they remember, if they won't be
Mhm.
happy with it or if they will embrace it. So yeah.
You brought it up, and I have to ask while I have you here because I'm a huge Last of Us fan. Like I have the tattoo of Ellie from the
Oh
first game right
wow.
there. Like I love Last
Nice.
of Us. I gotta know, are you a big Last of Us fan, or did you not like the show or game at
Yes.
all?
I've never actually played the game. I've watched the walkthroughs.
Okay.
Um, I really liked the first season. I think the
Oh, I love the first
second
season.
season's
Yeah.
decent.
Yeah.
I feel like they did kind of ruin Abby's character in the second season.
Yeah.
And I really love Caitlin Dever, is that her name, or Dever?
Mhm.
Like I
Yeah.
really like that actress, but I feel like they I don't know, they kind of set her up to fail a little bit with how they wrote the character, and I also really didn't like the trajectory that they put Ellie in either. Like
Yeah.
that final scene of her like with that couple or whatever, like the pregnant
Yeah.
couple, like in like I think it was the last episode, like and that's like it's different in the video game, isn't it? Like they changed
There.
it and they
Yeah.
changed it for like the worse in the show. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch season 3 because I want to like finish it out, but
Mhm.
I feel like they've kind of already put themselves into a hole, especially with like the creator saying that like the TV show creator and the video game creator aren't like working together anymore, I don't
Now,
believe.
Neil
He's
Druckmann,
like
who's
there's
the
beef.
creator of the games and works at Naughty Dog, he left. So the only showrunner we have is Craig Mazin. That's the only showrunner we have. When
Yeah.
it used to be Craig and Neil. So yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like when stuff like that happens, like that's also kind of happened in like the Game of Thrones world, like the like the TV show people at HBO are really trying to just take over the Game of Thrones because they don't wanna be
Mhm.
patient with George R.R. Martin's, timeline, and it's like, I understand, he's taken a long time to finish these books,
Yeah.
but you see what happens when you divert from the original source material and the person who actually has the
Hell, look
interesting
at
ideas.
Netflix with The Witcher. They lost Henry Cavill, and look how bad that show went off the
Exactly.
rail. Yeah.
That show just, like, failed. Nobody talked about that show anymore, and it got
Mhm.
canceled, didn't it? So, yeah, I feel like sticking to the source ma like, I'm always for, trying to express something a little bit
Oh, yeah.
different, but I feel like when people love stuff and you're adapting it because people love it, like The Last of Us, or Backrooms, yeah, you wanna get it right, so
Oh,
I'll
for
be
sure, and
interested to see
especially
what
when you
happens with
had a
The
first
Last of Us.
season. Especially when you had a first season that was all those things that you mentioned, that it was faithful, and when they changed stuff for the
Mhm.
better, and, like, it was such a great first season to what happened in the second season, like, what happened? And especially when you
Right.
had, like, I would say arguably the first 2 episodes of season 2 was pretty great, like, they were pretty accurate, they were sticking true to the video games, and then it was just right after what happened with Joel. I don't wanna spoil it for anybody who doesn't know, but just it was, like, right after what happened to Joel happened, it seemed like they just went off hill after that. It just seemed like they were like, "All right, like, we're going our own path of the story," and it's like, but why, like, why? It was
Right.
set up perfect for you right there. You could have just done the games, and then, like, I didn't mind Bella Ramsey as Ellie, but I definitely think they should have recasted her in season 2 because she just didn't have that. She didn't have the vengeful Ellie that we needed for that story. We needed a ruthless, I want nothing but to kill you Ellie. And when you have a scene in the second season where she just accidentally kills people, it's like, no, that's not Ellie. Like, she doesn't just accidentally kill people because, oh, my bad.
Really.
She's like, no, I want to kill you.
And just
And then you,
stands there and doesn't do anything,
hmm
like, isn't Ellie all about taking action? So, yeah, I was
we
very
can make a whole
disappointed with
stream
the
just shitting on the second season of The Last of Us,
I
but
know, I know.
as someone who
Yeah.
loved that first season, and like I at the time I didn't I mean at the time I had my channel, but I didn't really like touch on it or anything. At the time I was doing free marketing for that show because I loved The Last of Us. I played it all the way back when it came out back in 2013. Like, I loved that game. So I was doing free marketing
Mhm.
for that show. I kept going around telling everybody, "Hey, Last of Us episode 1's coming out on HBO.
Watching
Go
it.
watch it. Go watch it. Go watch it." And then, like, I got like nine,
Mhm.
10 people into Last of Us purely because of the show. And I'm like, I was so excited, like, y'all wait till season 2. Y'all think this first season's great? Y'all gotta wait till season 2. And then I had so many
Right,
people come back to me like, Austin, what the hell? Like, you said this was gonna be a great season. I'm like, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not in charge of the show. If I was, I would have promised you a better season. But I thought we were in good
right.
hands.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's what happens when the creatives leave, and they can't work together anymore, so, yeah.
No, for sure, for sure. So I guess going away from the horror of it all, what's just some upcoming horror, like not horror, just some upcoming movies coming out this year that you're excited about? I know we got summer blockbuster on the
Um,
horizon, so we got some big ones. Like, I saw you
there's
did a trailer
literally
reaction for
so
Masters of the
many.
Universe.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited about that one. I feel like I'm not sure how that film's gonna go. Like, I kind of mentioned
Mm,
that in my trailer reaction that I feel like I don't know who the film is for,
yeah.
because I feel like the people who are in the film, like Nicholas Galkazine and Cameron, I can't remember her name, but, like, the female character or the female actress in the film, both of them are very, like, heavily, like, female audiences, and I feel like He-Man is a very big, like, male audience from,
Hmm.
like, the '80s,
The
right?
80s. Yeah.
'70s? So, I wasn't sure who they're trying to market this film for, like, are you trying to get the nostalgic? Are you trying to introduce it to, like, a new generation? um, what's going on, but and then, like, Idris Elba's in there, like, what's he doing in this film?
And Jared Leto.
So and Jared Leto plays the villain, so I'll be interested
Yeah.
after Tron Ares and how that did so poorly last year. I'm probably gonna go see that film because it does look interesting, like, I do love some fantasy stuff. I'm not really, like, a He-Man person, never really, like, watched the cartoon growing up, but I do
Mhm.
like Nicholas Galkazine, like I have watched most of his projects, and I feel like he will probably do well in like the He-Man role. I don't know if
Mhm.
they will ever do like another one. Maybe it will do really well. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Mhm.
it's going to do great at the box office and be a surprise hit. But
Mhm.
yeah, that one's interesting. I'm actually, like, excited for The Mandalorian and Grogu that's coming out
Really?
this
Okay.
weekend. Yeah, like, I'm a really big Star Wars fan,
Me yeah.
love Star Wars, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be, like, a great movie, but I'm just excited for the ride, you know?
Mhm.
I haven't been hearing, like, a lot of positive reviews from Mandalorian Grogu,
No.
but I like Grogu, I think he's cute, I like Pedro Pascal as Din. I wish they would do a little bit more, like, dive into, like, the Mandalore and, like, their culture and all that different aspects, especially with Din's, um, I can't remember tribe or whatever it's called,
Oh,
like, how they
the Mandalore, yeah.
the Mandalorian and how they
Yeah.
don't show, like, their, face and stuff, like, I wish they would dive a little bit more into that in the film. I feel like they probably won't. I feel like it's just gonna be, like, a
Well, I mean,
classic,
to be
like,
fair, season 3 kinda tackled
adventure,
all that, so I wouldn't be surprised if they
I
don't.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm just excited for that. It's, like, one of the films, coming out this month, so but I
Mhm.
definitely think Backrooms for May is probably my most exciting, like, most
Mhm.
anticipated film. Let me look at my calendar. I'm like, "What else is coming out that I'm excited about?" Oh, Disclosure Day, that's coming out next
Yeah.
month.
I'm excited about
That
that,
will be
yeah.
a good
Scary
film.
Movie, we got Scary Movie coming out as well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Scary Movie, that one will be that looks like a lot of fun, like, that one's
Mhm.
I'm definitely going to go see for sure. They're bringing back, like, the old cast as well, which is nice,
Mhm.
and I feel like they're really, like, playing on, all the different tropes in the different horror films that have been coming out lately, like, I even
Yeah.
saw them do a Backrooms version of the
Yeah, they did
Scary,
a poster,
um
yeah.
yeah, like, I thought that was funny. And of course, like, they had, like, the weapons, in the
Mhm.
trailer and stuff like that, so I think that will be lots of fun as well. Supergirl, you mentioned Superman. Did you
Yeah,
like
I,
Superman last year?
yeah, so as you can see on Superman poster right there, I loved Superman. I even had the costume. It's over here somewhere, but I paid like 2 or
Oh,
$300 for
nice.
a replica of the suit, and I actually went
There
around.
you go.
I said it in my commentary at the beginning of it, but I did like free promotion for that movie as well. So I went to go see it early. I got I think I saw like for the Amazon Prime people, I saw it on Wednesday. And from
Nice.
Monday to Tuesday, before the movie came out, I went around in my local area just dressed up as Superman, taking pictures with people, talking to people, all that stuff. Wednesday, went to the movie, and as soon as I walked into the theater, everybody and their mother wanted to take pictures with me. So I was there after the movie for 2 hours taking pictures with people in front of the Superman poster, doing little podcasts with people, doing quick out of theater reactions for their TikToks and stuff. Like I was there for a
There
while
you
just
go.
Supermaning it up. And then the next day was the Thursday night screening. So I went to my local comic book shop, did like a little, interview thing with them as Superman, bought like over $100 worth of comics, and went to the Thursday night showings in my local area at my Cinemark, handed out Superman comics to every single person that was seeing Superman that night. I stood
Aw.
out every single door and was just handing them comics and comics and comics. And then right before I was done that night, as I was leaving, because I went in, I watched the movie again, obviously. And I came out, and these little kids who were watching the How to Train Your Dragon live action, they saw me and they're like, "Oh my God, Superman!" So they got all excited. I played with them out in front of the theater for a little bit. It's like a little playground area. I played with them, and I had to leave. And as I was leaving, I go, before I leave and I hang up the cape one last time before I take it out, I'm gonna do something special. So I went in and I bought all the Superman merch they had. I bought all the popcorn buckets, I bought all the blankets, I bought all that stuff, and I gave it to them. And they were just super happy.
Aw,
Like they were super excited. Like,
so
oh my God,
nice.
Superman gave me a blanket.
Aw.
Like they were really sweet. And so like I loved the community around that movie. Had just so many people were just happy that Superman come back, because like he's one of my favorites. I've always loved Superman. I even met Brandon
Mhm.
Routh a couple years ago, got him to sign my Superman
Oh,
costume for when I was
nice.
a small kid. Like I love Superman, and so I was just happy to see that Superman was back in the popular geist of people. That people were excited to see Superman again, and that there was just like feeling of hope
Mhm.
when you go to watch that movie. You're like, yeah. And then I actually, speaking of Supergirl, I just got done reading Woman of Tomorrow yesterday. Like I read the little
Okay.
mini book of it, so now I'm a little more excited
You're all prepared.
for Supergirl. Yeah, because like I watched the trailers, I think this looks fun. Looks like a little Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn's Supergirl. Like I don't mind it, but then reading the
Uh,
book, I'm like, all right, now I want to see what the movie's gonna do. The one thing I do have a problem with after reading the book is I feel like the movie's not colorful enough. Like if you look at the pages of that book, they have
okay.
very vibrant space kind of colors, and I feel like the movie's a little dull. It's just a little dull, and I'm like, I want some more color. I want a little more of those like splash pages that you see in Woman of Tomorrow. I'm hoping for a little of that.
Okay.
Maybe they're saving it, for the movie,
Hopefully
but
he's
I'm
saving
excited
it.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited
I'm
for that. I'm
excited for
assuming
it
probably
too.
you're excited for that too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which do you feel like
Yeah,
it's gonna
I
be
like
better or
Billy
worse than
Alcock.
Superman? I don't know where you landed on Superman, but
I feel like they'll probably be par. I liked Superman. I like David Cornsweet as Superman. I've
mhm.
watched him. I've kind of like followed his career. I watched him
Mm,
in The Politician, which is like his one of his first projects, and then Hollywood, and then he was in Pearl, and
Pearl. Yeah,
now
that's where
he's
I led. Yeah.
Superman. Yeah, so I've been watching him for a while. I actually saw him at TIFF at the Pearl premiere. So
Really?
it's kind
Oh.
of like cool to think about. I saw Superman years before he was Superman, but
Yeah.
so I liked it. I like the humanity that they brought to it. Um I
Comic
love
bookiness. I love
Nicholas
the
Hoult.
comic bookiness of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the comic bookiness of it. Nicholas Hoult was great
He's
as
amazing Lex
Lex.
Luthor. Yeah.
Yeah, I love him. I feel like he really does give a great performance. Um I think it was very James Gunn. Like, it really
Hmm.
did remind me kind of Guardians of the Galaxy in a sense, like, just kind of being like a cosmic, um, universe. I do like the Clark aspects of it. I thought that was probably some of my favorites when you go back
Hmm.
to the farm and we get to see his parents and the speech that he has with his dad, I think is probably one of my favorite moments when, they're having their little heart to heart after
Hmm.
he feels like he's a failure and stuff and gets him back on his path and he realizes that these are his true parents, and these are the people who raised him. And I thought that was a pretty unique like angle, like showing us that his birth parents, were
Hmm.
actually maybe evil people, like maybe they were like rulers who wanted to control
That
the
was very
earth
different
and
as a
other.
Superman, like, hardcore fan. That took
Yeah,
some getting used to because I was like, "That's never been a thing in the comics
I
or in the
know.
movies or anything that the Kryptonians are actually
Mhm,
evil," which I'm hoping in the Supergirl movie they can elaborate because that was the thing with, like, this storyline, The Woman of Tomorrow. She grew up on Krypton before it blew up, so
mhm,
she knew how they run things, she knew everything before it exploded. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more of that, or, like, maybe the message wasn't exactly intended how we thought it was. Maybe there was something deeper that we didn't know about. Like I hope they explain a little bit more than just, hey, Kryptonians are evil. And that's what makes Superman so best. It's like it ain't so
mhm.
black and white like that. I hope it's not so black and white like that because I feel like that's just you're just being
I
different to
don't
be
think
different. When
it's
I feel
black
like
and
if you have
white.
a real reason for why the Kryptonians are that way, then maybe make it a lot more sense.
Yeah, I feel like there will have to be some sort of reasoning, and I feel like with, Clara's, like, trauma and stuff that she goes through as well with having to leave, and then obviously she suffers from, like, alcoholism, like, I feel like
Yeah.
that will have to, like, tie into this, like, greater idea of the Kryptonians and what was their goal and why did they send her, and, what does she do with that power and stuff like that, like,
Yeah.
similar to Clark, right? And, um
Yeah.
great power holds or great power, it's great responsibility or whatever, right? Or,
That's
the
Spider-Man. But yeah.
Spider-Man quote, yeah.
I was
But
like, you're gonna piss off a lot of people by combining Superman and Spider-Man.
well, I feel like, at the heart I'm not comparing them, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they both take on that, you know, role of power and understanding that at the end of the day, like, the fact that they have all this power, like, what are they gonna do with it? Are they gonna use it for
Mhm.
evil or are they gonna use it for good, right? And I feel like,
Yeah.
you know, the humanity of Superman is what I loved about that film. So I hope they bring it into Supergirl and we get to know a little bit more about them and like what happened and like what went down and everything. So
Yeah, no, I'm interested to see how it does just because it is the second film from the DCU and Superman barely barely scratched the box office of being successful. Like it didn't make $1 billion or anything, but it just barely made over 500 million. And I'm just curious. I would hate to see if Supergirl flops, just because at that point
I
you would get
know.
everybody be like, "Yes, this universe is doomed. Everyone hates James Gunn." And I'm like, "Yeah, but we're 2 movies in. Let's give the man a shot. Like, let's see what he does with Man of Tomorrow.
Right?
Let's see what kind of path he makes. I'm willing to give it a
Mhm.
shot. We've been in such limbo with DC over the past decade with great movies, awful movies, great movies, awful movies that it's like
Mhm.
I like to give the dude a shot. We only got one movie and a couple TV shows. Let's see what he has. But I
Yeah,
would hate
I
to see
think
if
he'll
Supergirl flops for sure.
I think he'll be able to hopefully bring this to be some sort of success. Um,
Yeah.
because I don't wanna see it flop either, I can tell you that. As, like, a female-led film for the summertime, I do not want to hear that it's flopped, so
Yeah.
I hope it makes
No,
its
I
money
definitely agree with
back,
that.
and I yeah.
I can definitely agree
Any
with that.
other
But yeah,
big
with
films that
with
you're excited about?
Disclosure Day is one of them for sure. I'm excited about that. I'm a big alien freak, so I think that's going to be an interesting film
Mhm.
for sure. Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think that's like the next big one that I'm like pumped as hell for. I
True,
would say
yes.
Mandalorian and Grogu as a big Star Wars person, but I gotta be honest, like I just haven't been excited for it. Like nothing about these trailers, nothing about anything with this movie has ever given me the excitement of, oh my god, I can't wait to see this movie. It just looks like Mandalorian. Like it looks like the TV show just brought to the
Yeah,
theater. And in some aspects, that's not a bad thing. But I'm like, why do I need to go to the theater to see this when I could have just watched it on Disney Plus? Like, I don't understand the theater appeal other than we're just trying to make money. you know.
yeah, true, right?
But
So, yeah,
but
I
I
think at
am
that
curious
point,
to see it
that's
though,
what
for
it's
sure.
about.
Yeah. If anything to me, what's frustrating about the movie is I'm like, dude, there could have been like Obi-Wan. The show could have been a movie. I feel like that's a worthy of a film. You could have done an Ahsoka movie. I feel like there's so many other things you could have
Mhm.
turned from a Disney Plus show to a movie. Mandalorian wasn't the one of them. I never would have said, yeah, I want a Mandalorian Grogu movie. I'd been like, no, I want a Ahsoka or Obi-Wan or somebody else way before we got a Mandalorian movie. So I mean, I'm hoping I walk out and have a different tune of being like, that was actually pretty good for something that I walked into not really caring. I'm actually, I'm happy with it. But I would say the next 2 big movies I'm really excited for are probably Scary Movie and Spider-Man, just because I like comedies. I love spoof movies. I grew up in the era of when scary movies would come out regularly, and you'd get like superhero movie and epic movie. Like they're schlock and they're not great, but I used to love those films. So I'm happy to see that we're actually
Mhm.
getting some sort of a parody film. I mean, we had The Naked Gun last year, which was really funny and did decently well at the
Yeah,
box office. So I'm hoping Scary Movie
I
can
like
kind
that.
of change that and be like, yeah, now comedies are back. People aren't afraid to make comedies anymore. We're back in full swing. So I'm hoping that movie does really well. And then obviously Spider-Man Brand New Day. Like I'm a big Spider-Man person. I love Spider-Man. And that film just looks like everything I've been complaining about with Tom Holland's trilogy for over a decade now. Like they're finally fixing things and like this is actually Spider-Man. It's like, oh, okay. We've
Okay,
waited three
you like
years,
it
or we've
now.
waited 3 movies in 10 years for the traditional Spider-Man. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm
I'm
guessing you were probably
excited
the biggest excited
after,
for
like
that one too.
yeah, like, after the big kind of, like, cliffhanger of the last one, with everybody forgetting who he was, and I've definitely have been anticipating this film, a big, like, Sony MCU fan as well, right? So,
Hmm.
I feel like I've been following this journey for so long, like 2
Yeah,
decades now for some of the stories, right? But Spider-Man, a decade for sure, and I feel like, yeah, we're really starting to get into, like, the meaty part of it. I'm excited that Frank Castle's gonna be in it as the
which I saw you
Punisher.
watch the Punisher
Um
special. What'd you think about that?
Mhm. I thought it was good. I was a little underwhelmed by it, if I'm being honest. I just feel like they could have done a little bit more with it.
Hmm.
I do think it's trying to like introduce the character to people who aren't like as familiar with him from like the Netflix show.
Hmm.
Which makes sense. Not everybody watched the Netflix show, and I guess it is kind of like a little bit of a different version, right? Because it's the
Yeah,
MCU, but um I liked the emotional beats of it, like, when we got to see a little bit more of, like, the inside of Frank's psyche and the PTSD that he's still really suffering from. I thought the action was fun in it, but I just wanted a little bit more. Like, I wanted it to be a little bit longer, so I'm
yeah.
hoping he gets a little bit I hope he's not just like 30 minutes of brand new day. I hope
Yeah.
he's has a good chunk or good
Yeah.
arc. I hope at
Yeah.
least in the film.
Well, I hope they treat
He's
him
not
like they
just thrown
did
in
the other
there.
2 Spider-Man in the other movie where they're supporting characters, not just cameos, they're supporting characters, you know?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I want. Like, I want them I don't want him to be a cameo. Like, I want him to be, like, an actual, like, driving force of the film because I feel like I really like John Bernthal. I feel like he's such a good actor, and he's been working for a long time, like Walking Dead, like we mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
So, I'm excited to see what he gets to do in this film, especially because the special was, like, super I would say for, like, a Marvel property, like a Disney property, I felt like it was pretty violent. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering how they're going to be able to combine like the Punisher with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which I feel like has not
Yeah.
been violent at all, you know?
No. No, I definitely agree with that. I'm hoping they don't water him down too much. Like, they're gonna have to water him down
Yeah,
with the PG-13. I mean, you already
a
saw in
little
the trailer
bit.
they censor his cussing and everything, but I hope they don't water
Mhm.
him down so much to where it's not the Punisher anymore, and that's the one thing I'm a little,
Same.
like, worried about. It's the same thing people were worried about when, you started hearing rumors that they were gonna combine, like, Daredevil and all these other people with Spider-Man. There's those rumors with No Way Home, like, "Oh, they're gonna put Matt Murdock in this thing," and people are like, they going to water him down? Is it going to be, I think they did it pretty well. Uh, Same thing when
Mhm.
they added him to She-Hulk. I thought they did a pretty decent job with him as Daredevil in that. So I'm hoping that they don't water him down too much, especially because, like, we haven't really gotten this Punisher a lot. Like, we've gotten him maybe in 2 seasons of Daredevil, his 2 seasons of his own show, and now this special. And to be honest, the one thing I did not like about the special is I feel like we've been stuck in, like, origin mode with this version of the Punisher. Like,
Yes.
we've never evolved past this. My parents, or not my parents, my family died, and
Mm.
I'm just, PTSD of it all. I'm like, I got that. I got that back in the first season of your show. I got that back in season 2
That's
of
what I'm
Daredevil.
saying.
How many times do we have to
Just
reiterate that this version
recapping.
of Frank Castle? And, like, I hate the fact that he, like, will hang it up. I'm done as the Punisher. Then something drags him back in. Oh, I'm back as the Punisher, and then it
I
goes
guess I
away.
gotta put it
And
back
it's
on, you know?
yeah, and so I'm like, I'm hoping we don't do that shtick anymore with this version of the character. I hope this
Right.
was the final time he's putting it on, calling himself the Punisher, and now he's the Punisher.
Mhm.
Because, like, I like John Berthal's Punisher a lot, but what's holding me back from him being my favorite is the fact that he's still stuck in origin mode. Like, every time I see his version, he's just whining and crying about his family, and I'm like, I get it, dude. I get it. Like, I want to see you do
Yeah.
some other things, man. Like, that's why I still like Thomas Jane's version, just because that movie did hinder on, oh, my wife and kids got brutally murdered. Let me make that the whole film. It's like, no, there's still a big piece of it, but you still see him do other Punisher things. That's not just dealing with PTSD of it all. So I'm hoping we're out of that. Like, I'm hoping this is the final time that we have to deal with him hanging up the vest. I'm done with the Punisher, and then putting it back on a movie or two later. Like, I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah, I agree. I hope they are able to give him a more of an arc and they are able to move his storyline past the origin because I feel
Yeah.
like we've been stuck on it for a long time. And I don't know, I was getting the vibes that he was going to be like the not necessarily like the friendly neighborhood Punisher, but that
Mm.
little like complex. Like it seems like he wants to maybe like take care of that
Yeah.
area from like the new cheese and like the crime that's going on. Like it's obvious that he feels some like I don't know, he doesn't necessarily always dive headfirst in, but he does want to like protect, like the family at that like sandwich shop, right? And
Yeah.
he wants
Yeah.
to protect the Marine who's being harassed. And I feel like Spider-Man, he does his own sort of thing in his neighborhood in Brooklyn, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to
Queens.
see how
Yeah.
these two,
Brooklyn or
like,
Queens. Yeah.
oh, Queens, sorry. It'd be interesting to see how these two New York characters, who are so different, but also have a very similar goal, like work together. Like they want to
Yeah.
protect these innocent lives from the crime that's happening in New York. So I wonder if they will like butt heads in the film or if they'll end up working together or something. It
Yeah.
seems like they're butting heads in the trailer, but
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen, right? With their
Yeah.
expensive history in the comics, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. No, of course. Well, and plus, I mean, we knew a while back because it was like rumored slash leaked that they're going to team up eventually to take down the Hulk. because we know the Hulk's going to be in this film.
Oh. Oh,
So
okay.
I think
There
that's
you
kind of
go.
where they're leading to, where it's like the Punisher and Spider-Man are going to team up to fight the Hulk, which that's going to be cool as a longtime comic book fan,
That'll be
seeing
exciting.
Punisher and
Yeah.
Spider-Man fight the Hulk. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
one of those movies where I'm like, on paper, you lay it out for me, and it sounds like there's a lot going on in that film. Like you got Tarantula, you got the Hand, you got the Punisher, Hulk, the whole transformation with the whole spider totem thing going on, Tombstone, Scorpion, and like all this other stuff, and you're like, this sounds like a jumbled mess. But to be fair, No Way Home sounded like a jumbled mess, and you watch that film, you're like, oh, it actually flows pretty well. Gotcha. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping that's the case with this film. I'm hoping with Brand New Day, it's not just some jumbled mess of like Spider-Man 3. I hope we don't Spider-Man 3 it and it's just too many cooks in the kitchen, not
Yeah.
enough breathing room with that film. But I have faith. I have faith because
Mhm.
it looks great. I mean, every trailer we've seen, every little tease that they've showed us, it looks like the Spider-Man film we've been wanting since arguably Tobey Maguire's trilogy. So that's probably my next big one for
Yeah.
sure is Spider-Man, And then
Mhm.
another film
I'm
I forgot to
excited
mention
about
earlier
it.
that's also pretty anticipated is Robert Eggers' film in December. He's doing a werewolf film.
Werewolf, yes.
Yeah, I
I'm
forgot
excited
about
about
that one coming
that
out this year. Yeah,
one.
because I really like
Yeah, I
Nosferatu. Like I even have a little like Nosferatu Funko Pop right there.
so cute. I love it.
Yeah,
Yes, I like
and
Nosferatu too. I had like a couple issues with it, but I think overall
really,
it was like a really solid film. And I
yeah,
loved like the visual aspects of it and the performances. Like, woof,
I need to watch
so
his film
good.
he did that before then, The Northman, because everyone says that's his best
Mhm.
film. I need to watch that one because like I didn't really like the Lighthouse. I didn't like that one, and I didn't like The
You
Witch.
didn't like okay.
Now I
Okay,
didn't like either of those
I like
films. So
I haven't seen The Witch. I really like The Lighthouse. I think The Lighthouse is really fun. I haven't seen The Northman, but it's the same screenwriter as The
Mhm.
Northman. So I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are thinking it would be similar to The Northman because he's teaming up with that same writer. So yeah, I definitely need to give The Witch and The Northman a rewatch because I feel like both of those kind of have like I don't know, I guess Nosferatu is also like
A
mythical
timepiece.
creature,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
timepiece. But yeah, I'm excited he's bringing back, same actors that he worked with on Nosferatu, basically almost the whole cast. So, and I love Willem Dafoe, love Aaron Taylor Johnson, love Lily Rose Depp. I feel like they all gave great performances in Nosferatu. So, yeah, I'm definitely anticipating Werewolf. I think it'll be pretty fun. And like I said, I was a fan of Wolfman, and I do
Mhm.
like um the American in London, the American
American Werewolf
Werewolf
in
in
London.
London.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
I really like that one too. And I don't know, I kind of consider like Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban to also be like a werewolf film. So yeah, so I feel like there's different like werewolf aspects. I feel like it's not necessarily like the most popular of the monster films like you mentioned, but I'll be interested to see what he decides to do with it because I feel like there could be a lot of different aspects.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to change my microphone. It was dying. I had to change the batteries in it.
Okay. No
No, to
worries.
piggyback on what you were saying I'm interested to see for sure the creature design because I love the creature design
Mhm.
that he had with Nosferatu. Like at first, I didn't like it. I was like, "You gave him a mustache? Like, what's that about?" But I
I
was
liked
like, after
it.
the film, I yeah, after watching the film, I kind of grown to it. So I'm curious to see
Mm,
after what happened with the Wolfman if we're gonna get that kind of approach where it's more of a realistic kind of
yeah,
approach to the Wolfman, or if it's
werewolf
gonna
with the
be
top
like a
hat.
full blown, like 7 foot tall, yeah, kind of werewolf, like American Werewolf in London kind of ordeal. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be funny if you got something like what they did with the Wolfman, but then you just give him like modern English clothes. That would be kind of funny.
Mhm.
Just like you said,
I'd
werewolf with a
be
top hat and a cane or
interested to
something. Like
yeah, exactly, like, "Ooh, we're going to the show before the full moon," or whatever, but, yeah, I'm
it would be
interested to see
funny if
what
you
they do
got like Bill
with it,
Skarsgård to come back and do it, and he gave like that same like
right?
Nosferatu voice, like "I'm going to get you," like kind of deal.
Right?
Like I
Yes.
think
Mhm.
that'd be kind of
Yeah,
funny.
well, I
Just to
think it'll
like, why
be
not?
interesting to see that it's not Bill Skarsgård, who is such, like, a morphic really known for like his different like method characters that he plays, and we're
Mhm.
having it be Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I think he's a solid actor. Love him, Kick Ass, 28 Years Later, lots of other films too. But I feel like he's
Not Craven,
never.
but yeah.
Oh, I guess Craven. I haven't seen Craven, but
I
I
didn't forget about
wonder
Craven.
if
I did not like that movie, so I did
I
not forget about that.
I wonder if what he's gonna do with it, you know? I feel like nobody really necessarily considers him to be um like a lead, you know? Like
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like he's more of an auteur. Like I guess he was in Kick-Ass, which was like a franchise that really kind of when he was
Yeah.
younger. But since then, like I guess he was in Bullet Train. He kind of does like one-off stuff, but I've always liked him. I
Yeah.
feel like he's a really good actor. So I'm excited to see what he does with it. I feel like he's an
Yeah, for sure.
unexpected actor to take on something like this. So
And I could be wrong, but isn't he playing the guy who's supposed to turn into a wolfman, or he's supposed to be the one going after the
yeah,
wolfman?
I'm pretty sure he's the one that's turning into the wolf,
Okay,
isn't
that's
he?
what I thought. Yeah,
Yeah, right?
I
So
thought so.
that's
I couldn't
why I'm
remember.
like I I feel like he's usually really good as like that side, like spooky character like he was in Nosferatu or in like Bullet Train. He kind of plays like that assassin or whatever. Like I guess he's the leading man in Kick-Ass, but I feel like
Mhm.
since then I don't really see him in like a leading man role, so I'm excited for him to take it on. Like I feel like this
Yeah.
will be like Christmas Day release. It'll be like a really big project for him. So like I guess Craven was supposed to be his big project, but
Yeah, to see how that turned out.
yeah,
It's the
hmm
same thing you could say about Tom Hardy. He hasn't been in a role outside of the Venom movies, and it's like,
Oh
yeah, I wonder why.
yeah, yeah. It sucks.
But
I
yeah,
like
other than
Tom
that,
Hardy.
like
I
I
feel like he's
can't.
decent.
Yeah, well, like the thing with Tom Hardy is I feel like he's one of those actors. He's very good in particular roles. Like you give him a Bane role or like Mad Max, and he's very, very well. But then I feel like when
He
you give him
locks
certain
in,
roles, like with Venom or just other roles I've seen him in, I'm like, he's not like doing anything unique here enough to shine like he used to back in his early career. Like I don't know if you ever seen the movie he did, Warrior.
Is that the boxing movie?
That's the boxing movie where he has to fight his brother in a UFC tournament.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I've
that
seen
one's
it
a
a
really good
long time
performance. Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, that one's a
Yeah.
really good performance by him. I think that was the movie that showed that Tom Hardy isn't just some like action dude. Like he actually has some like drama in him. That was a really good movie. I wish he'd go back to doing movies like that, where it's just like
Yeah.
you're not doing these big blockbusters or this crazy action movie. You're just doing like this grounded kind of serious film. That's what I hope he goes back to because I think he
Mhm.
kills it in those type of roles for sure.
Hopefully. I think he is a good like character actor when he goes for it,
Yeah.
So,
For sure, for sure. I'm trying to think of anything else. I would say like if we're gonna move past the summer, definitely Resident Evil in the fall. As like a big Resident Evil person, I'm excited to see what Zach Cregger's does for it. And I don't know what's going on in October. I don't think there's any big horror releases coming out in October. I have to look at my calendar again, but I don't think there's any major like no
um,
slashers, no big horror franchises coming out in October.
I'm sure there has to be something like with October, with like Halloween
I
and
know Crystal
something,
Lake's
but
coming out
I
in October, but that's the only thing I know. But that's on streaming. That's a TV show. So I don't know anything about big movies wise.
um let me check really quick.
Which I am
Um
excited about Crystal Lake. As a big Friday
Street
13th
Fighter.
person, I'm oh yeah, Street Fighter.
Street
I forgot about
Fighter's
Street
coming
Fighter, yeah.
out. Terrifier 4
It's supposed to come out next
coming
year.
out.
It was supposed to come out this year, but I think it's coming out
Oh, did
next
it
year,
get
yeah.
pushed? Oh,
Yeah, it
okay, it
got
got
pushed, yeah.
pushed to next year.
So I
Yeah,
guess
I
Street
feel like
Fighter is the
there's
only like big
nothing
thing.
really big. I wonder if they'll have to announce something else. Like I feel like you have to have like a horror release
Oh
for
yeah.
October,
Well, I'm also
So,
curious because I'm going to Fantastic Fest at the end of September. I'm curious if there's gonna be any movies that come out at the end of Fantastic Fest that are going to have a surprise release date in October. Because I think that'd be kind of
I bet
interesting.
you any money.
Because I've seen that
That's
before.
probably what'll
Yeah.
happen.
I've seen that
Mhm.
before
One
where
of
like
the
last year
big
Fantastic Fest, some movies came out and they came out like November or something.
one of the big releases from that festival, I'm sure will get picked up or something, and maybe they'll put it
Yeah.
out for like an early November release or something like that, maybe?
Yeah.
Is it the end of
I would hope
September
so.
that
Which
goes
I'm
on?
hoping I can see it usually is the end of September. I think this year it's middle of September. So it's like I think it comes out the
Oh, okay.
same weekend Resident Evil does. So I think
Oh,
Fantastic Fest starts that Thursday when Resident Evil comes out, and I think it goes on for like a week. I don't know. I've never done a Fantastic Fest. I've just seen everybody like making like videos on it and going, and I'm like, I want to do that. That looks like fun. I want to see
there you
movies
go.
early.
It's exciting.
Hoping to see
Yeah.
movies like Obsessions and stuff. So I've never done stuff like that. I don't know how different it is from like TIFF, if it's better or if it's worse, or like how the whole festival is between like TIFF and Fantastic Fest. But I never gone to
I'm
one,
not
so I
sure. I've
figured that'd
never
be
done
pretty fun.
Fantastic Fest. I feel like that's a little bit more horror based, right? Fantastic Fest, or
Usually
is it like
is.
any
Yeah, it
genre?
usually is. It's
Yeah.
usually all
I
genres, but
feel
then they have some horror. Yeah.
I feel like TIFF doesn't have a lot of horror. They really only allocate the horror films to our Midnight Madness. So that's where
Hmm.
Obsession was. So they play a
Hmm.
lot of a lot of the horror stuff at midnight. So like I saw this horror film called Fuck My Son. I don't know if you heard of that film. Um, but it
No, I
came
have
out
not.
and yeah, and it was like a midnight release. It was crazy. After it was like revealed
Hmm.
the guy like used AI to like make some of the scenes though. So it was kind of disappointing to hear that he like
That
used
is
generative
interesting. Yeah.
AI in his film. Yeah, but you never know what's gonna like come out of the festival. So I feel like it's always fun to like dive in with a couple titles that you're like excited about, but then you'll come out with some titles you weren't even like expecting, right? And maybe those will be your favorites. So I'll be excited to hear about your journey
Yeah.
at Fantastic Fest. Perfect. Yeah. I
But
feel like we had such a good
um
conversation.
like I said, yeah, thank you again. Well, for sure. Yeah, I think it's a great conversation. I would love to pick it back up, maybe closer to the summer, like after we have all these big movies that come out and stuff. I think that'd be a very fun
Yeah. I
conversation to
should
to
do
pick
like
up
a
after we've
watch
seen
of
like the
all
back
the
rooms
horrors.
and passengers and stuff like that. So,
Mhm. Yeah, and we could do like a real
oh yeah,
ranking,
I think you definitely should do that.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
would
think that'd be
love
definitely
to
fun.
collab
Yeah,
in the
because I
future
mean,
after we see a
especially it'd
couple
be
more
interesting to
films.
see someone like you who's not into horror, and then someone like me who's into horror, and how our rankings would definitely differ. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that would be, a nice little comparison, who've really been into the genre, and I'm just kind of like starting to get into it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, nice little comparison.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And I appreciate your time coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you. I would definitely like to pick it up again sometime soon when we can talk about more things. But if you don't already know, go follow her channel over there. She does great content over there. I think you're doing Euphoria right now, right? Doing a lot of Euphoria content because of the new season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Euphoria season 3. It's the season finale is in 2 weeks. So we have this week is the
Oh,
second last
nice.
episode, and then next week is the last episode. So doing that, but I'll be
Oh,
doing reviews for Backrooms as well when that comes out, definitely.
oh, nice, nice. And before we wrap up, is there anything you want to plug? Anything coming up that you want people to check out? Anything coming up to your channel that you want to get people excited over before we wrap it up?
Yeah, well, I post film content and TV content, all those different types of reviews, like I mentioned with Euphoria, but also film reviews like every single week. I'm also doing like pop culture stuff. Like I'm hoping to do like Canada, is it like the new Hollywood video soon? I'm
Hmm,
trying to
that'd be
compile kind of
interesting.
like a video essay about that. I'm also on all the major social media platforms. You can find me at Letterbox, Serialize, the Awards Expert app, Instagram, TikTok, all at Willow D. Steele. I'm also a writer on the Awards Garage. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I'm kind of everywhere. If you give me a
Nice.
follow on YouTube, all my information is like in my bio. So yeah, thanks for letting me come out here and have this
For
conversation with
sure.
you. Lots of content coming up on my channel.
Obviously, yeah, I can't wait to check that out, and I'll definitely put your links in the description. I'll put all your social medias and your YouTubes and stuff. Make sure to check her out. But yeah, definitely love to collab in
So
the future. And like I said, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope to see you soon.
yeah, it was a pleasure.
No problem. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.